EAGLES, Eagles.
Nine hours, 4 minutes.
Here we
9
go.
hours,
Here we
4
go.
minutes until the closeout comes. Yes, welcome in. Red October, Red Thursday. Happy Friday Eve. Thursday. Yes, it is. Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn. D. Gunn in the house.
Rob, your energy level surpasses anything I've heard from you before, and I wonder why. But I understand why, because not only did the Phillies win, but you were in attendance for the spectacle. So I've got a lot of questions I need to ask you about the on-site experience as we kick off this show today.
All right, let's do it, man. I'll just tell you this, Derek. Sometimes you have a day. Sometimes, look, we've all had tough goes. We've all had days where you're like, please let it end. I just want to get through this day. I want it to be over. I had a day yesterday that was like, you almost couldn't have drawn it up any better. It was absolutely perfect. So we finished the show right around 2 p.m. our time, Eastern Standard Time. And I had tickets. Game was at 5 o'clock. My wife gets home from work around 2:30. She took a little bit of a shorter day teaching yesterday. Okay. So she gets home. We, get ready to roll. We get out of here about 2:45. We pick up my sister-in-law who lives not far from the ballpark, which is perfect because then we just took little side roads, to get there. So we get there, Derek, by 3:30, right around 3:30. Hour and a half before the game. First of all, the day in Philadelphia was perfection. It was like high 60s, low 70s, sunny, but not beating you down. A little breeze, perfection. So, we got there a little bit early, went into the ballpark probably 4:30. Wanted to see everything, with the whole pomp and circumstance. All the introductions, which were freaking awesome. They did a really nice job. They paused for a moment of silence for everything that's going on in Israel. And they unfurled the flag. It was great. It was absolutely great. And early on, I think there were two keys to this thing. And I'm going to show you some pictures too, by the way.
Okay.
Which Tone has. I want to give a little set the scene for you, if you will, with the way things went down last night. But, when Nola only gave up one early.
Yes. I thought the Braves were on him early. They got 4 hits right out of the gate.
Yeah. When he didn't implode. Yeah. He kept it together. I'm like, okay, this is a really good sign. Like that was huge. Tone, you could throw them up there. I'll talk over them if you want. So yeah. All right. So Gunner, this was our seats. So we were in like right center field. So we were sitting think like right in the middle of sort of Castellanos and Rojas. Okay, if that makes sense. We're right there. This was the beginning of the game when the Phillies were coming out to start the game. Okay, nice. You can advance to the next one, Tone, if you want. All right. There was that, and then the other key I thought, and you just keep firing them up there, Tone. So this is a little bit later as the game went on. You can see where it's dark at that point, but we had great seats. But I thought the other key was Castellanos' first home run that tied it, because the place was a little, I want to say quiet, but it was a little like pensive. Like
a little nervous, just a little nervous.
Nervous is a good way to put it. So Castellanos home run and Nola not imploding were great signs. And then after that, third inning, the onslaught set in. And so these are some of the reactions as things start going on, okay, in my section. All right. So everybody's going bananas as the home runs are hit, you know, in the whole nine. And then I'll show you one which gives you an idea of the fireworks, which were really, really cool.
Okay.
After every home run, there were like fireworks, and it would kind of go dark for a minute. But check that out. That's pretty cool, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that a great shot? That's a great shot.
That's awesome. But see, you messed up. You messed up.
You
needed to be in the shot. The fireworks should have been over your shoulder.
You know what? My wife took all the shots with her camera, and I didn't get them yet from her. So let me text her. I'll get them to you before we get out of here today.
So I got to ask you this: how early did you get there?
We got there. We arrived at about 3:30 for a 5 o'clock.
3:30. Okay, plenty of time.
Yeah, plenty of time. Perfect. Okay, it was perfect.
So were the stands where you were they already full? Then, because you know Phillies fans like to get to places early. Were they already full?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, they were full. Yes, 100%. Tone, I'm sending you at least one other one. All right, I got one more for you, Tone. All right. So anyway, yeah, the stands were full. It was crazy. Everybody's wearing those overalls that Garrett Stubbs wears now.
Oh yeah.
I'm not an overall guy. I can't pull off.
Oh, come on, Rob.
No.
You gotta be out. Look, if you're gonna be out there with the bleacher creatures, you gotta wear it. You gotta have the motif going, man.
Yeah, no. Listen,
come on,
I know what I can pull off and what I can't pull off, and I can't pull off overalls. I'm not an overall guy. But anyway, it's fun to see. Everybody's in their gear. All right, yeah, Tone, give me that one. All right, this is so I'll give you a little shot. So
there you go.
There's my son, Bobby, on the left.
Yeah.
And Maggie's in the middle. Obviously, there I am. So
wait. Where's Rob's Philly jersey?
I had my Phillies hoodie on, but it was hot at that point, so I had my Phillies shirt on. That was you can't see it, but yeah, I had my gear. I was geared up, man. I was geared up.
Now, as jacked up as you were for the game, there's always food and beverages involved.
Yes.
Did you partake of the food and beverages? And on top of that, what was the general cost you spent for that kind of stuff?
That was not cheap. That was not cheap. The problem is when you go to the concession stand and you're buying for three of us. My sister-in-law got something else. She didn't want to get what we were getting, whatever. Okay. And I won't name the name of the place out of for our sponsors' purposes. But
right.
Yeah, it was a heavy duty bill. So I got a pizza.
Okay.
I got one beer. I drank a beer. I had one beer on the night. That's all. I don't usually, because I don't want to be up going to the bathroom.
Sure you did.
No, I only had one. Although it was a 25 ouncer, but it was.
There you go. That's like 3 bottles.
Yeah. So anyway, but I had that. I got a small like personal pizza. My wife and son split a cheesesteak and fries, and then I think they got ice cream later. I probably spent in the neighborhood of like $80, $70.
God, dog, for 3 people. Woo!
Yeah. It ain't easy, man.
Crazy, man.
It ain't easy. But anyway, look, I'm not complaining. Like I said, it was absolute perfection. It was absolute perfection. So Nathan spent $1,034. Oh my God. Wow.
For what? Wait, Nathan, $1,034 for what? Is that including parking, tickets, and food, or what?
Yes.
Or just tickets? Because as we know, when it comes to playoff games in any sport, if you want primo seats, all of a sudden the price goes whoop through the roof.
Yeah, I think I did take out a second mortgage just for 4 hot dogs.
And 4 beers.
Yeah,
jeez.
Yeah, it's and Chuck says.
Oh, he said that was your estimate. Nathan says that was his estimate.
Yeah, no, a little bit less, but yeah, Chuck, of course. Yes, it was a plain pizza, Chuck. You were correct, sir.
Rob,
yes.
Come on, man.
Come on, you guys know me. You know me better than that.
You can't just live off cheese pizza, man.
Yeah, and thanks everybody for the kind words for the picture. Yeah, we had an awesome time. So my son interned with the Phillies this summer, Gunner, and they asked him to stay on during the postseason, which is a nice compliment to him.
Nice,
you know, it was good for him. So he was already down there. He was there at like 11 in the morning for the game because he helps in like the ticket office and stuff.
Sure.
And so he met us right at the seats as soon as the game ended. So it really just everything kind of went off without it. And I actually got out of there, sold out house, the whole 9. I got out of there quick.
Did you really?
Yeah, man. I got out of there. I stayed for the whole game. Stayed till the very end. Like that last shot you saw, the fireworks was of the last out. But so I stayed till the end. But you and I talked about this yesterday. We do our move where we park right near an exit.
Yep.
Even if you have to walk a little further to get to the game, that's fine because you get right out of it. And that's what I did. So we got out of there pretty smooth, man. But I'll tell you, and Tone, give me the stare down. So this is the highlight, the night. Here's the thing too. There's certain things that, Derek, and you know this, when you're at a game, you can't pick up as well unless you're watching it on TV. Okay, so that's Harper staring down Arcia. We couldn't tell what was going on when he hit the home runs. First of all, everybody's going, even when he's at second base, the whole section is going nuts.
Right.
So you're kind of missing, whatever. Everybody's just high-fiving. And let me say one more thing too, about the game, and then I'll get into the Harper stare down. The atmosphere sometimes when you go to games, unfortunately, there's just knuckleheads who act like idiots, right?
Yep.
And I will say this, and I mean this sincerely. Last night, man, was the most unbelievable, great, cool, happy atmosphere I've been around in a long time. Like everybody high-fiving each other when something good happens. People are hugging, like no BS, no nonsense. It was awesome. But anyway, so we didn't see this going on, and he did it twice. So the background is, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. So Arcia, after the game on game 2 in Atlanta, said, "Attaboy Harper, attaboy Harper."
Right.
Basically ripping or nudging or poking Bryce Harper for the base running mistake.
Or thanking Harper for making a mistake.
And Mr. Marcus is right. Very similar to the Iverson stare down at Tyrod Lue in 2001. Very similar. So apparently Harper's teammates went to him and said, "Hey, you hear what he had to say? Yeah. What are you going to do about that?" That's what they said to him. "What are you going to do about that?" Well, I think we know what he did about it. How about 2 home runs, 4 RBIs? And Derek, how about this? They're 8-0 in the postseason when he homers.
Yep.
And they've outscored their opponent 45-9 when he hits a home run in the postseason the last 2 years.
Now, when it comes to Arcia, okay, now I will say this because I've been in locker room scenarios and been outside of many locker rooms in a lot of sports in the playoff atmosphere. And when things happen, things are said, and you can understand it. It's the adrenaline rush.
Yep.
It's the excitement of you getting it done, especially when you take into consideration the Braves were dead to rights in game 2, and then all of a sudden the script flips in the latter innings. Yep. So as I discussed with you, what Arcia said, did he say it with the doors closed and just him and his teammates, or did he happen to make that mistake when the doors were open and the media was let in? Because as we know in this business, always be careful because you never know where a microphone is. It's one of the first rules you learn as an entertainer, an athlete, as a journalist. Always be careful because always think the mics are hot. And nowadays, since the advent of the smartphone, cell phones, everybody's got an apparatus pointed somewhere in society, everywhere, every moment of every day.
Agreed.
I don't blame him for saying that because it was the adrenaline of the moment. But if somebody like a clubhouse attendant, and a media person, is going to jump on that. That's going to be.
It was a media member in Atlanta.
Okay, a media member. See, and some of the Atlanta players were ticked off. I read where they were ticked off because they said some things need to stay in house.
Yep.
And that's with any team. That's the family. That's your moment to celebrate, and you should be able to celebrate freely.
Yep.
I mean, I've heard so many athletes celebrate using expletives, when they celebrate.
Mm-hmm.
It's like F you so and so, thank you so.
Yeah.
It's a shame that it's got out from Atlanta's part. But what a piece of motivation it was for Harper to find out.
Yeah,
my goodness.
My thing is, like, if you don't want, I'm with you. Like we are trained. You're around a mic, you better be very careful what you say, even if it's in a commercial, even if it's before the show, whatever. You got to be careful. So if you're going to chirp, just know that in this day and age, especially, things get out. It's not the way it used to. Teams used to travel. Writers used to travel with teams back in the day, drink with the players, party with the players. Babe Ruth on trains and would do crazy stuff, and nobody would record. It doesn't work that way
anymore. No.
So you say stuff, it's going to come back at you. And the whole thing, like, I'm watching him last night, and he's he was saying that stuff, and then last night he's saying, well, that wasn't supposed to get out. Well, okay, man, it got out. I mean, that deal with it. And Darno is saying, that's supposed to be our sanctuary. And,
true. I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Well, and we'll talk to Ben Davis, who will be great on this at 11:30 because he played the game. But I don't look. I mean, it's like if you're going to say it, just know it could get out and it is going to come back to haunt you. And the other thing is that's not the dude you want to be doing that with.
No, that's like stirring a hornet's nest.
Yeah,
Hey, not to deviate, but Daz, Rangers, just real quick, Rangers, phenomenal. And how about the Diamondbacks? I mean, my goodness, we'll talk more about that later in the show. But oh my goodness, the Rangers and the Diamondbacks, and the Astros are still alive.
Unbelievable, man.
Oh,
the Astros are. I fear the Astros. There's no question about that. I don't want to look too far ahead. You're right. The Diamondbacks are playing incredible baseball. I mean, they're an upstart bunch. They really are. They just took Dodgers out. And the good news for the Phillies is if they are able to beat the Braves in this series, they have home field advantage in the NLCS. So that's great.
The funny thing is the Diamondbacks have taken a path similar to what the Phillies did last year.
Yes.
Fought tooth and nail until the last few days of the season just to get into the playoffs as the 6th seed. And then they take out 2 division winners in the Brewers and the Dodgers and don't lose a game. They're 5-0.
Incredible.
5-0.
Incredible. Here's the other thing too. If the Phillies could get to the World Series and Houston gets to the World Series, Phillies would have home field advantage.
Yes.
Yes. So there's a couple scenarios playing out well for them. That's for sure. But it was great.
Crazy.
It was great. And I props to Nola. Nola, really gave them, it was 5 2/3, but 2 runs allowed. He gave up 1, and then one of his inherited runs scored, but 2 runs, 9 strikeouts, just 1 walk, 92 pitches, his 4th straight strong outing, Derek, since that mechanical change.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So
now I have to ask you this.
Yeah.
As a fan sitting in those seats in right center.
Yeah.
When Atlanta jumped on him early and got the 1 run and the 4 hits off of him early, what was going through your mind?
I was concerned. I was big time concerned. I thought, even though they didn't really smoke a couple of those balls, like Acuna hit, I didn't think they hit him all that hard, but with his history of coming apart at the seams, it was not just me. Everybody was just like, ooh, all right, here we go. And you could you could hear the collective sort of groan from everybody in the stands. Like, damn, are we going here again? And
I thought the Braves were on him right out of the gate. They got him. They figured him out already. And I'm like, geez, here we go.
Yeah. But when he got out of it, I thought, okay, maybe we're seeing a little bit of a different guy. I think he got out of it. And then, and again, like I said, the Castellanos home run sort of lifted all the angst. I'm telling you, when he hit that, it was kind of like, all right, everybody take a deep breath, and it's 1-1 again, and we're square, and let's go. And then everything, the 3rd inning was an explosion. But that was big. I give props to Nola. I give props to, I thought they played good defense again. Turner had a bunch of good plays. Bohm had a bunch of good plays in the field. Considering Turner was coming off 2 errors in Atlanta. And the other thing, Derek, is we talked about this a lot yesterday. They're very good at compartmentalizing as a team.
Yes.
And there wasn't a carryover from that bad loss. No.
As a matter of fact, if anything, they were more focused. If anything, and I mean, once they got into their stride, man, it was like bombs away. I mean, my goodness. I mean, that was the Phillies team we watched August and September, just raking it, man. That was a hitting clinic last night on the Phillies' part.
Yeah, I mean, what you saw last night was exactly what they're capable of. Like the power, as great as Atlanta's lineup is, and it's loaded with talent, but that Phillies lineup is nasty.
Yes.
I'll tell you what we're seeing from Harper, Derek, 7 postseason games the last 2 years against the Braves, 13 for 27, 481 average, 5 home runs, 10 RBIs, a 1.148 slugging percentage. I mean, he destroys this team. Destroys him. I know. And Tina's right. How about this? Last year in Game 3, Philly scored 6 runs in the 3rd inning.
That's right. That's right.
And that was part of the Hoskins bat slam, and everything else that went down.
They split the 2 games in Atlanta last year. They come home, have 6-run 3rd innings, and win convincingly in Game 3. And of course, we know the story what happened in Game 4.
So
it's like the same scenario.
The other two things in the crowd. So they start doing the mock tomahawk chop.
Okay, did you do it? Did you do it?
I didn't. No. Everybody was doing it. I didn't do it. I don't like it to begin with, so I'm not going to do it. But I appreciate a good mock. They were mocking them. I like that. And then the other thing they were doing was we want Strider, which okay. Little careful what you wish for with that one. That's all I'm saying.
You know what?
Careful.
Yeah, I agree with you, but also, hey, they beat Strider last year. They beat him this year in the postseason. He owned them in the regular season, but the second season is different. They're 2-0 against him in the postseason.
Yeah.
And he's got a 1.29 ERA. Now he is lights out. When he is on point, it's difficult to hit as anybody in the National League.
Yep.
And it's going to be an interesting game tonight. It really is. And now here's what I'm thinking. Suarez is back on the hill.
Yes.
What's going through his mind because he got that quick hook in the last game? I hope he just goes out there and pitches and doesn't worry about being too fine, doesn't worry about looking over his shoulder, doesn't have to worry about. And I'm sure Rob Thompson has talked to him today or will talk to him today thoroughly about scenarios, matchups, so on and so forth to try to put him at ease.
I agree with you.
You have to.
You know what the good thing is, Derek, though? He's a pretty
even keel.
He's easy going, man, that guy. Like, I don't think a lot of stuff bothers him. And
but you know what? That look on his face, his last outing,
he was pissed. I mean, there's no doubt.
Then he had a look of not fully understanding why. It's a combination of not understanding why, being ticked off, and concerned about who was relieving him. And then you saw the shot once, who was it? Hoffman got the final out that inning. He turned and walked down the steps like with a sigh of relief.
Yes.
But you could tell that was etched in his mind. And then you see later in the game where you see Rob Thompson has an interpreter talking to Suarez, telling him exactly why we did what we did.
Right.
No,
you're right. You're right. I do think he'll be in a good mindset. I do. And he's generally been a very good postseason pitcher for them. So I have confidence in Ranger tonight. I mean, I think it's just a matter of, oh, by the way, for people who didn't know, it's an 8:00 start, 8:07. It was originally 6:07, but because the Dodgers got eliminated, it's an 8:07.
I got to watch 2 games tonight, Rob, because I got to watch. I don't care how bad a Thursday night football is game. I got to watch it.
I know. I'm the same way.
I got to watch.
Here's the problem, though, Derek. And I'm same with you. I'll be in front of the couch. I'll be on the couch tonight, watching the game. The problem with Prime, and I have it. Right. And a part of it, I pay for it because of sports, right?
Yep.
It's a pain in the butt to come off of it and go to flip back and forth to it.
Yes,
it takes too long.
I agree 100%. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
I
miss stuff because it takes 2-3 minutes to get back to it. I don't like that at all. Now I guess I could just stream with my laptop, the football game and have the Phillies up on the big screen or whatever. I know I'm sure people will respond and say that in the chat. And you're right, I could do that. But I like just flipping my remote back and forth. Maybe I'm old school that way.
Well, see, I was just going to tell you what I'm going to do is I'll have the football game on the TV and sitting 2 feet from me. I will have my phone on the game because I get the Xfinity app on my phone. So I have the game right there in front of me. So I'll watch both, so I won't have to flip back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I maybe I will do that as to avoid that tonight. Because I see everybody saying that. I agree. You're right. All right. Let's get a timeout. Let's talk to Ben Davis, Gunner. He's doing studio work, pre and post for NBC Sports Philadelphia. He was part of the crew last night. What a game, man. What a game. What a beatdown this was of the Braves for sure. I'm curious what the Braves mindset is because they lost to the Phillies last year, and now all of a sudden they're on the brink again. So we'll get Ben's perspective on all that. We're talking tons of Eagles today, guys, by the way. Don't think we're not. Fletcher Cox back at practice, Nakobe Dean back at practice, but there's still some injury concerns here as they head into the Jets game. So we'll do all those kind of things when we come back. Don't go anywhere. He's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. I want to tell you right now about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Yes, I'm thrilled that they're a part of the channel. They're a part of the show. I've been going there since I was a kid. They've been family owned since 1985. Just a great, great place. Bravo Pizza offers 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. I get the grandma, which is the upside down, but they have specialized pizza any way that you like it. But if you're not up for pizza, they have fresh pasta, sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads. The other thing is Bravo Pizza of Havertown is also committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charities, for schools, for little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You can follow them at the Bravo Pizza of on Instagram and Facebook, at the Bravo Pizza of, for daily specials, for promotions, for the menu. They're at 1305 Westchester Pike in the Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. 1305 Westchester Pike in the Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. Give them a call right now, 610-446-3810. 610-446-3810. Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We're big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. Hi, I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
And the big story on Action News?
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Back, baby. Back 10-2. 10-2 SmackDown. Yes. Happy Thursday, everybody. Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn, hanging out with you. We are Sports Take. All right, time to get to our next guest. He is a brilliant studio and booth analyst of Major League Baseball and the Phillies. Played a long time in the major leagues, and he's a friar, even though he's not the proper kind of friar. He's a Malvern friar, not a Bonner friar, but that's okay. We won't hold it against him. We still love him. Ben Davis, what is happening in Pennsylvania?
What's up, Benny?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me today.
Wait, we have a birthday? Whose birthday? What's going on?
It was my son's yesterday. He turned 18. Our oldest turned 18. So
who's a beast, by the way. He is.
I am officially old.
Yes, you are. Welcome to the club, my friend.
So
Ben, so much to get to, man. And by the way, I smell a nap in your near future. You've had a long day already, but
yes, I have. Yes, I have. So, but no, Gunnar reached out to me on my way home from the city this morning, and I said, you know, Gunnar, I can't say no to you 2 days in a row. So.
You shouldn't have told me that. You shouldn't have told me that.
That's why I sicked him on you, Ben. I'm strategic that way. Yes.
Oh man.
Ben, all right, so much to get to, man. I want to start with this. There's the whole sanctuary of the clubhouse thing. And as a player, as an analyst, I think you could speak to this better than anybody else. You know, the whole, oh my God, that should have never gotten out. And then the other side of it is, you know, look, everything's out there now in this day and age. So how do you fall on that with what Arcia had to say? And then obviously everything that went down with Harper last night.
Well, if you didn't want it to get out, don't say it.
Yep.
I mean, it's as simple as that. If you know reporters are around, and obviously they're a conduit to, you know, to those outlets, and you know, he said it. You know, it benefited the Phillies. I know that, but you know, if you don't want it out there, then don't say it. And if it's something, if you want to say it, maybe, you know, I don't think there's any room for it, but it does happen. Yeah. I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't happen. Yeah. But things like that are said in the clubhouse from time to time. And sometimes in the heat of the moment, you get caught up saying something stupid. We've all been there. And, you know, Bryce Harper took exception to it and just pounded some baseballs last night. But there is a little bit of a sanctuary in that clubhouse. But, you know, once that media is in there, it's a different story.
Ben, I have to ask you as we get to the game. So Nola comes out of the gate first inning. The Braves are on him. They get one run. They get 4 hits early on. And I have to ask you, as I asked Rob, what's your initial reaction when you see the Braves get to him early in the game? They didn't kill him for runs, but it looked like they had him figured out early.
Yeah, I was a little worried there in the beginning because some of those guys in that lineup have really good numbers off them. I mean, if you look at Acuna Jr. and Riley alone, they were 37 for 103 off them with 10 combined home runs. Jeez. I mean, that's a big sample size. So there's some guys in there that obviously had some big numbers. So you start to see them get to him a little bit. I know there were a couple bleeders in there, but they get up by that one run, and then Nola just flipped the switch. Yeah. I was trying to pattern him yesterday, and I couldn't. He did not fall into any pattern whatsoever. His fastball was excellent. He threw his fastball, whether that be the 4-seamer or the 2-seamer, 53% of the time. And usually that's, you know, he's thrown his curveball that much. He was dominant with the fastball last night. He kept up his velocity, which is huge, because when he maintains that velocity, it makes his other off-speed pitches that much better. But when he's throwing 91, there's not that big a difference between the changeup and the curveball with the fastball. So those other pitches aren't as effective. He was able to keep that velocity up last night, and he did not get it fall into any patterns. He was just really, really good last night, and they needed him to be that good, and he was.
Ben, is it as simple as the mechanical adjustment? I mean, going from his shoulders weren't quite square because he was looking at the pitch clock towards the third baseline and instead of, you know, bringing it back over to the one on the first baseline. Is it that simple? Because the last 4 starts, 2 of them playoff starts, have been spectacular.
Yeah, I do think it is that simple because it wasn't like overnight. What happened? How did he get like this? How does this guy have a 4.5 ERA? And you're thinking that, you know, it's still in there, but where did it go? So I think, yes, it is something as simple as a mechanical issue that he was able to remedy. And, I mean, it's made a world of difference for him.
Hey, Ben, from a catcher's perspective, when you have a pitcher like Nola who struggled for much of the season, then makes mechanical differences later in the season, and you start to see more positive effects, as a catcher, do you constantly talk to him between innings? Okay, this looks good. Keep doing this. Hey, I notice you're starting to go back to this. You know, stay where you are. Do you leave pitchers alone altogether?
There's a fine line there because they are such fickle creatures.
Okay, all right.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah, I think from my experience, if a guy's doing well, I just leave him be. If there's something I see, whether that be mechanical, mental, whatever, or if it's something I see out of the hitters, you can have a scouting report on somebody. But if if they say this guy's a good fastball hitter, if his bat is maybe he was out all night last night, but he comes up his first at bat, he's way late on the fastball, then you kind of can read that as a catcher and you get off that page, and that is something you could relay to your pitcher. You say, hey, man, this guy's bat isn't as fast as we think it is. We can attack with fastballs. So from that aspect, yeah, those kind of things you can go over. But if a guy's doing his thing and throwing the ball well, I just leave him be.
Okay.
Ben, stare down aside for a second, and I do want to get back into that. But with Harper, I thought it was fascinating last night. I know you guys carried all of it on NBC Sports Philadelphia. But when he said they were asking him about pressure, and he said, I've been doing this since I was 10. I've been in the biggest tournaments since I was 10. I've been under the bright lights. I dropped out of high school. I got a GED. I went to junior college at 16. I knew I had to provide for my family. Like, it was fascinating listening to him open up like that, where he said, this is gravy now. Like, the hardest parts were when I was a real kid trying to live up to the expectations and not be, in his words, a failure. I mean, it was like, whoa, man, he got pretty deep.
Yeah, it was very eye-opening. And, to tell your father at age 11, I'm going to be the #1 overall pick. I mean, who makes a comment like that?
I was telling my dad I was going to come to one when I was 11.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, to say it is one thing, but then for having to come to fruition is another. Yeah, I mean, I believe him. I believe everything he says. When he was interviewed last night about, a lot of people think it's pandering or this or that. I believe him. I believe everything he says. I believe it's a mutual love affair between him with the city and the city with him. He says all the right things, and he obviously does all the right things, especially on that ball field. He's taking the image we have as a superhero to a whole different level.
Yeah.
Red light player, whatever you want to call him, he's taking it to a whole different extreme. And I don't think I could be wrong here. I don't know if we're ever going to see something like this again, because and no offense, Gunnar, I know you're a football guy, but if you're a quarterback and you lead a team down the field, you're going to have a couple incompletions, right? You lead them to a comeback win or whatever. You might have a couple incompletions, but baseball is so hard. It is the hardest thing to do. And so I know I'm biased, but it's the hardest thing to do in sports is to hit a baseball.
Yep.
Round bat, round ball. We know the whole deal. But for him to come up in these situations against the best competition in the world and constantly provide those big time moments for his ball club, it's on a whole different level. It just doesn't happen as frequent as Bryce Harper makes it happen. And that's what makes this what he does in these playoffs. We saw it last year. We're obviously seeing it this year. That's what makes him so special and above and beyond any expectation we could have as a superhero.
Yeah, he's got 10 home runs, by the way, in the NLDS. Yeah. It's the most ever of anybody that's ever done it. Sorry, Gunnar, go ahead.
Ben, you've been around this game a long time, and to compare a football analogy, we always talk about how the 12th man is so important to football, especially in playoff scenarios. But when you look at baseball crowds, and we've seen when the Yankees are going well, Mets are going well, Dodgers are going well, but this Phillies fan base, it's like nothing I've ever seen before. How are the players feeding off of that energy, which has made them so successful last season and this season in the postseason play?
I think the players are feeding off it because of the other team's lack of conviction in what they're doing. You see pitchers out there, I think they're timid. They're not executing as well. And that only is going to help the Phillies offense. I think the hitters are trying to maybe gripping the bat a little too tight, and our pitchers are going out there and taking care of business because their bats are slowing down. I think that effect is huge, and the players can really feed off that. And everyone, if you're out there as a Philly, you say, "Oh, the pressure's off." Like, wow, these guys are really behind us. This is just awesome. I can just go out there and play the game, and knowing that they're putting all the pressure on the opponent. I think that the players expected of the fans, and I think the fans expected of themselves to be that raucous and bring that different dynamic to a baseball park, to a ballpark. It is completely different. I went over last night after the pregame show. I went and got something to eat, and then I sat in the radio booth. And I'm telling you, it's like nothing you've ever seen. Whoever built that ballpark should be commended, because I think that thing's going to fall down every time they start going nuts. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's. I was in the middle of it last night, man. It was insanity, man. It was pure insanity. Couple of the things that stood out to me. Turner bounced back not only with the bat, but in the field. And generally as a team. No hangover from game 2. You know, you always worry about the psyche sometimes when you lose a gut punch game, and they just answered the bell, man. And they seem to have done that all year. Really, it's been a trait of theirs all season.
Yeah, we always hear toppers say how resilient this bunch is, and they are. But that game Monday night was a punch in the gut. That was something that was not easy to get over because of how well Wheeler was pitching. They got the 4 runs early, and you're thinking, okay, we're just going to ride this out. The Braves offense isn't doing anything. And then to have them come back in that fashion and just, like I said, punch them in the gut in that way, that this team they are resilient. They are that good. They don't have a rear view mirror. They never look back. It's always looking forward, looking forward, looking forward. And I think it starts with Rob Thompson. I think it starts with a lot of the veteran leadership on this role. I think it speaks to their character. And to a man, they're really good dudes in that clubhouse. And I think that's the way David Dombrowski kind of goes out and looks at these guys. What are these guys comprised of? What is their character? And I think it goes a long way. You could be a great player, but if you're a jerk, you're not going to get along with your teammates, and that's not going to carry over onto the field. I'm telling you, there's something to it. This ball club loves each other. They love playing the game together, and they love celebrating each time they get through a round in the playoffs. So let's hope we see that again tonight.
You know, Ben, I've always said when it comes to playoff scenarios, the bottom part of a lineup is so integral to a success of the team. And this lineup 1 through 9, no matter who steps out there for them, in a lot of cases, it's just as lethal as the front 4. And you look at last night, Castellanos and Marsh go 5 for 8 with 3 RBI. And, you know, I thought it was one of the best strategic moves to move Castellanos down and Stott up because Stott has been so consistent. They move him up to the 5 hole and move Castellanos down to the 7 hole, and it puts so much more stress on a pitcher. An opposing pitcher has to be fine-tuned for 9 batters, not just 5 or 6 batters.
Without a doubt. And, you know, I think it really kind of leads us to the fact that, you know, why do we continue to doubt Rob Thompson?
I know.
He makes the right moves. And, you know, moving Castellanos down in the lineup later on in the season, Castellanos didn't want to do it, but he did it for the good of the team. And then he started to take off again, and he's continued it through the playoffs here. That home run he hit last night in the 3rd inning to answer back was a big one. And I think it's understated in the fact that really got the ball moving or the ball rolling for them.
Yep.
But his willingness to go down the lineup, and then Stott obviously being consistent throughout the year. Rob Thompson's just a smart baseball man. He's got a good bunch around him to help him out. They have a great coaching staff, and they work their tails off. And they are prepared for every scenario that comes along.
Ben, let's look at Suarez tonight. You know, kind of a strange thing in game 1 where he's lifted pretty quickly, even though he looked really, really good. Clearly, he didn't love it, but you know, it didn't turn into a thing by any stretch. And I think Rob talked to him afterwards, and I don't find there to be any. At least you tell me. I don't think there's going to be any kind of issue there. But what do you think about him tonight and what you may see, and what is the approach here with him in this game? You know, worst case, if they lose, they would have a day off on Friday. But tell me what you think about the approach with Ranger tonight.
I think he's going to have a little bit longer leash tonight. He did throw the ball exceptionally well in that first game, and they went down there and they stole that game. And every move that Rob Thompson made after his removal was spot on. And again, why do we question Rob Thompson? But I think he might have a little bit longer leash tonight. Now, he does have a lot of weapons in that bullpen that were not used. And even the guys that were used last night, I really liked what I saw out of Sarah Anthony last night. And some of the other guys that came in, what I saw out of those guys last night, they can go again tonight because they've been well rested throughout this playoffs with all the off days. The off days, it's just so weird to have so many off days. But they're all well rested. Plus, they have the big guns out there as well. You know, they got Alvarado, who did not throw last night, Kimbrel, who didn't throw last night. And the more rest that these guys get, the better they are, especially with Kimbrel. So he's got a lot of weapons out there he can utilize. So if Ranger does get into a predicament, he can go and lift them and use the bullpen and use them a lot because, again, another off day tomorrow. So they'll be fresh. Yeah. If it does go game 5, they'll be fresh on Saturday.
You know, Ben, continuing the discussion about Suarez, and I had mentioned to Rob earlier, I think it's imperative we closely watch his psyche on the hill tonight because if you go back to game 1, everybody's shocked he's pulled in 3+ innings. And you see the look on his face. He's in He's in the dugout trying, what the heck just happened? Yeah. Rob Thompson has an interpreter come over and tries to explain it to him. And then the camera hones in on the concern on his face. And then when Hoffman gets the final out, it's like he breathes a sigh of relief and turns and walks down the step. In situations like that, what do you say to a pitcher before his next start? Especially on a big moment like this, a series closing moment like this, so he's not worried about being too fine with his pitches, not constantly looking over to the dugout to see if the manager's coming up the steps.
I think you tell him go leave it all on the field. Just go as hard as you can, as long as you can. You can't worry about what Rob Thompson thinks is the right move. You have a game plan, you stick to it, and you go as hard as you can and as long as you can. And if he decides that it's your time in the game where you cannot go on any longer, then so be it. But know that you left it all out on the field and you went out and you competed. That's all you can ask of Ranger tonight. Go out and compete, give them your best, put your team in the best position to win, and we'll see what happens after that. I'm sure Rob Thompson will talk to him and tell him that those exact things. I don't know any other way you could go about it. The last thing you want is for Ranger to throw a pitch and look over his shoulder. Right. That's the last thing you want, because he's not going to have conviction in that pitch at that particular time. Every pitch, especially in the playoffs, has a purpose. So go out there and throw each pitch with conviction.
Ben, what do you think the psyche is of the Braves? I mean, they're on the brink of the same thing that happened last year, played out very similarly. Phillies win game 1, lose game 2, win game 3, have an explosive third inning. I mean, it's crazy how similar it is. What do you think their mindset is?
Well, I think they have to be a little bit confident in the fact that Spencer Strider is throwing. He threw, I know Harper took him deep, and they had a couple errors in that game that the Phillies took advantage of. It was great to see. But the bottom line is he threw very well against the Phillies, and he's got tremendous numbers against them in his career. So I think that the Braves have to feel confident in the fact that, hey, we got our guy going tonight. But from an offensive standpoint, it's been a grind for them, and knock on wood, hopefully that continues for the Braves. But, I mean, you're talking about a team that hit 300 historic numbers, 307 home runs in the season. You look down the stat sheet, and it's just like, this has to be a typo, because you got guys with 40, 50 home runs, 30-some home runs. It's unbelievable. And, again, that's 1 through 9 as well. So, I think from that aspect, just keep the pressure on them. You have to get strike one if you're Ranger Suarez and the entire Phillies pitching staff tonight. Keep that offense on the defensive. And I think if they do that, they can get Strider out of the game in 5 innings. I like the Phillies' chances.
What do you think the mindset of Strider is? I mean, he owned the Phillies in the regular season, but for 2 straight seasons now, the Phillies have got the best of him in a playoff scenario. What do you think his mindset is taking a hill tonight?
Well, if I had his stuff, I'd be like, all right, we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping that it's like, I'll show you. Baseball is not a sport where you can tell yourself, I have to do this or I have to do that, or I'll show you. The game, again, is too stinking hard to do that. I think if he has that mentality, I'll show you, I might go in the Phillies' favor in the fact that maybe he starts to grip it a little bit tighter. He throws that slider and it hangs because he's trying to overthrow it. But I think he's got to probably have a good mindset going into it, for the fact that, as you said, Gunnar, he's got really good numbers against the Phillies, and he threw the ball very well in that first start. The Phillies just happened to, hold the Braves to 5 singles. So I think if you're Strider, you got to be confident, but we'll see how it goes.
Ben, last one from me. With the exception of the Braves winning game 2, the 5 teams with the best record in baseball have been blanked in these playoffs. I mean, it's crazy how it's played out. What do you make of it? It's just kind of random the way it went this year?
Yeah, I think you're looking at take the Orioles. I mean, they had a great ball club, but this Rangers team is playing exceptionally well. They went down there and kicked the snot out of the Rays, and then they went and kicked the snot out of the Orioles. The Diamondbacks are playing tremendous baseball right now. They got some young talent on that team. Their starting pitching is extremely good. They have what a 1-2 punch they have in Gallen and Kelly. They're hitting the baseball extremely well. Christian Walker, who went to Kennedy Kendrick out of Philadelphia, he's hitting the ball tremendously well.
That was a bomb last night to left field. That's a deep shot in left field in that place.
Yeah. So you got them playing well. You have the Dodgers, who, they picked probably the worst time to have Betts and Freeman go into a slump. They had 1 hit combined in 3 games. 1 hit.
That's crazy.
Exactly. So you're just got some teams that just got terribly cold, and you look at the Astros; they're playing well. I believe they won. They won last night and beat the Twins.
They did. Yep.
So, it's just baseball, and I think that's what makes the game so good is because you just never know. You just don't know what. I'd catch Jamie Moyer, and we go up against Roy Halladay or some big stud, pitcher, and Jamie would throw his 82, 83 out there, and we'd win. And you're like, how does it work like that?
Yeah.
And we outlast their pitcher or whatever. And Jamie walks away with the win at, throwing, he goes 7 innings and gives up 3 hits, throwing 83, 84 miles an hour. It's just baseball. You just don't know.
Yeah.
Ben, if you're Rob Thompson, what do you say to the guys before they take the field tonight? Or because it's such a veteran-laden team, they've been down this road before, do you say anything to them?
No, I think you just have the same approach. Rob Thompson, you talk about not changing the spots on a leopard. He is the same dude. I mean, he's the same guy day in and day out. And I think that the ball club really admires that about him, and they play that way for him. And again, they don't look back. They just keep their eyes forward and keep their blinders on and go about their business. It is a very professional ball club that they have. They go about their business the right way. They get their work in. And they still have fun. I mean, the bottom line is they're playing a game. You might as well have fun. But I think it's the same approach, same mentality. Just go get them and play each pitch and don't take any plays off or any pitches off.
Ben, one key to tonight. If you had to say, what would it be for you in this game?
I think it's they got to get Strider out of the game. Because I think if they do that, that bullpen can be exposed.
Yeah,
if they can get that pitch count up, even if they don't get a hit, foul some pitches off. Get Strider out of the game as soon as possible. If they do that, I like their chances again because I think Rangers going to be steady, and we got a lot of guys well rested in that bullpen. But get Strider the heck out of the game.
There you go. All right, Ben, listen, we'll catch you tonight. We got pre and post game, correct? NBC Sports Philadelphia. What time do the festivities kick off tonight with the 8 o'clock game?
We go on at 7 o'clock, and I believe we're on NBC Sports Philadelphia Plus on the Plus channel.
Plus with the Flyers.
Because the Flyers are on the main channel, but then we'll be on the regular channel for the post-game shows, the text I just got. So,
okay. All right.
So at 7 o'clock we'll be on, and see how it goes.
Get a nap, my man.
I will.
All right. Appreciate it, Ben.
Thanks so much, guys. Thanks for having me.
Take care, man.
That is Ben Davis. Always good catching up with Ben. Yeah, it's going to be on fire tonight, and especially, Gunnar, when what Harper or what Strider said regarding the fans, not wanting fans in the stands.
Right.
And I think he was doing it sort of trying to be funny or whatever.
Yeah.
They are going to be in full throat tonight, man. It is going to be an insane asylum tonight down there.
Let me ask you this now. In hindsight,
yeah,
you went to last night's game. You talk about the phenomenal experience.
Yeah.
If you could foresee the future prior to game 3 and 4, would you have rather been in the stadium last night or tonight?
Oh, man. Here's why I'll say I'll stick with what I did because it went off without a hitch. Sometimes you never know. Like, I'd hate to be there tonight, God forbid, and they lose. That would be a real freaking bummer walking out of that place. So I'm going to stick with what I did. I'm good. I'm good. All right. I don't want to.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, and I love the 5 o'clock start time. Everything about that game.
Oh, that's true because you like to be in the bed with your stocking cap on by 11.
Yeah, a little bit later. I got to be fresh for you, man. I have to be well rested for you, D-Gun. All right. Man. We will turn our sights to the Birds. We'll update you on what's going on from an injury standpoint. Who practiced yesterday? Who didn't practice yesterday? Who's getting close? Some of the things that Robert Saleh had to say yesterday regarding this matchup. We'll get into the Eagles offense in the next segment, give you a great stat on Lane Johnson, and then we will get into the Eagles defense in the following segment. Got a lot to do in the NFL segment also. And a little bit later, Coach Billy Crocker from Eastern University. So we got a lot more in store. You don't want to go anywhere. He's D-Gun. I am Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take. All right, let's tell you a little bit about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because knowing who to trust with your finances can be a scary proposition, right? You got to get it right. You work too hard not to. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, you may be trying to get your employee benefits off the ground if you own a business, any of the above. Look, I trust Jim, and you should too. I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers with him, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be as well. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 4751. You could also email him. And by the way, you can just call him for a consultation, but you can email him Murray, MURRAY.Jim@principal.com. That's Murray.Jim@principal.com.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
They're carving them up and good play calling along the way. First and goal at the 6.
On the field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. Hi, I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
Search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Back with you on this Thursday. We are Sports Steak. If you could hit the like button, friends, we do appreciate it. That's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis hanging out with you. All right, Gunner, let's talk some birds, man. All right, yesterday at practice, and we haven't heard yet who is practicing today. If we get that information, we will pass it along. But Fletcher Cox was back in a limited capacity yesterday, as was Nakobe Dean, as was Sidney Brown. And Jack Stoll is dealing with a shoulder. So Sidney Brown, Cox, Dean, and Stoll were all listed as limited. Did not practice. Again, Justin Evans. Darius Slay is a new one that has popped up here with a knee issue. Tui Pelotu is out, was out again yesterday with the triceps injury that he's dealing with that forced him to miss Sunday's game against the Rams. So Slay is the one that sort of catches your attention right there, Gunner, because they're thin back there to begin with.
Well, the good news is when you see all these injuries and they say limited practice, at least they're out there testing these injuries. The iffy part is if they're still limited tomorrow, then you have some cause for concerns. I mean, right now, today is a day where you try to push whatever the ailment is, you try to push to see how it's responding, and then you attack that with more treatment today and tomorrow, and even Saturday before you make some final determinations. But not seeing players on the DP list did not practice is a good thing as we sit here right now. Mm-hmm. But you're right; they're so thin on the back end as it is. The pass defense is so suspect as it is. Man, you can't afford to lose any more frontline players. Because now you're asking even more kids to step up in crucial role situations. But again, like I told you, half jokingly but half serious during the show meeting, if there's ever a situation where you're going to have multiple players down, the Eagles' first 6 games are the perfect scenario because you're not playing the better teams. You can survive, and especially against such a one-dimensional team like the Jets. Like, we know Zach Wilson is not going to chew up a good defense through the air. Zach Wilson can't stand back there forever and hold the ball because his offensive line is banged up, or he's going to get killed. You're talking about possibly a 7-8 sack day for Zach Wilson and possibly getting hit 15, 16 times a game. A Jets offense that is one-dimensional, running the ball to stay in games, is not going to run for 230 yards against this Eagles defense. So here's another scenario where you can get by with a depleted core of players and come out on top.
I do wonder, Derek, like that said, like along the lines of what you're saying here, if Slay is even borderline, that maybe in a different matchup, you'd put him out there and risk it a little bit if they don't err on the side of caution. You know, I have no idea. We still have a ways to go here until Sunday, but you know, because it's the Jets and it is Zach Wilson, are you a little bit more cautious with playing guys who are banged up? I think it's something to keep your eye on for sure. As far as Slay goes, but we'll see what ends up happening there. Let me bounce this off you. We know the bulletin board material that the Phillies and Braves, what's been going on there with Orlando Arcia. Anything to read into the, hey, we're gonna have to lay 11 kisses on Jalen Hurts if they run the tush push. It was weird. Robert Saleh, while in addition to saying that, Derek, also was like, yeah, I don't know. The guy's got 1 million pads on. He's got pads everywhere. It was a slight little zing. Maybe I'm reading too much into things, but do you see anything coming of that, or is that just nothing?
No, it's just nothing. It's talk for now. Just to address John Dickerson right here, says Zach Wilson has more failed passes than a young D-Gun at the club. D-Gun didn't fail, bro. I'm going to tell you that right now. But anyway, it's another story. But no, I think
you had the highest quarterback rating you could have at the club.
Hey, man, hold up, man. My wife might be listening, man. Hold up. Squash that noise. Hey. Yeah. You trying to get me messed up, man. No.
Keep it down.
Rob, I was a very quiet, timid, shy individual as a young man. I just want you to know this.
You were in the library.
But no, but see, the problem is because now it is constantly talked about and will be talked about basically every opponent the Eagles face. The more it's talked about, the more it's going to come under the microscope. The more I believe, I've been saying this for 4 weeks, the more I believe it's going to be eliminated or whittled to nothing when the owners meet next spring. I'm telling you right now, it's coming. You know it is. Anytime the NFLPA and the NFL come out saying we're now doing studies to see the effects of injuries pertaining to the tush push, you know that's the guillotine is about to drop on this thing.
I agree. When the H word comes up, health, everything changes. But here's the joke of it, the irony of it. The only injuries that we've heard from this play are the Giants, and it was 2 guys who got hurt. And even by the Giants' own admission, Derek, they don't practice the play. Maybe if you practice the proper technique and practice the play, your players wouldn't have gotten hurt. Like this is going to be the out that the league has. They're going to say it's not, it's a safety issue. And that's how they're going to justify this. When we all know down deep, it's pissed off teams and pissed off coaches that they can't stop the play when the Eagles run it, and they can't run it to the level that the Eagles run it. That's what all this comes down to. And for all the people who want to give you it just doesn't look right, it's just not pretty, stop. If that's the case, let's get rid of the kneel down. Let's get rid of any kind of quarterback sneak. There's a lot of things we should get rid of if it's not aesthetically pleasing enough to you.
We're now seeing college teams even try it. I saw college teams last week and trying it now.
Yeah.
Some were successful, some weren't. It's a fad for now. Just like a lot of things in the NFL, just like a lot of things in sports, they become fads and then all of a sudden they fall by the wayside.
Yep.
But once you start talking about we're studying this now to see to what level of injuries can occur from this. I mean, 2 Giants, the first time the Giants tried it, 2 starters got hurt. An offensive lineman and a tight end got hurt. Okay, so that was a red flag right there.
Yeah.
Now they've taken it to the study level. It's gone. I'm telling you, it's gone. It's gone, Rob. or it's going to be such a variation of it, it won't be nearly as effective as it has been up to this point. So the Eagles better enjoy it now. They better enjoy it, the free reign of doing it now.
Run the heck out of it. I agree with you. I think what's going to happen is, here's my guess. The way that they'll legislate it is you literally can't touch the quarterback. In other words, you could do the traditional sneak where he takes the snap and just burrows forward, right? You could do that, but you're not going to have anybody be allowed to shove him, literally. I mean, that's the concession. That's what they'll do. I'm telling you, that's what it'll end up doing. It'll just be a traditional quarterback sneak, which, by the way, the Eagles would be great at that too, because Jalen's so strong, because the interior offensive line is guys like Kelsey who get leverage. You'll still be great at it. You may not have the incredible, success rate that they have right now, but they're still going to be darn good at it. There's no doubt.
I still can't get over the fact that when Tom Brady was with New England, you had guys pushing him forward all the time. Nobody said anything for years about that because it was Tom Brady. They could do, New England could do whatever they wanted to do in the Tom Brady era.
Yep.
Now, all of a sudden, the Eagles modify it. They modify it for today's game. Of course, then again, how many teams have a quarterback squatting 600 pounds?
That's the difference. And you brought this up in our pre-show meeting, and Mr. Taz says the same thing. Kelsey on the New Heights podcast said it best.
Yes.
Players are going to start faking injuries to get it banned. They 100% that's coming. Mark.
I saw the clip. I saw the clip, and I said, first of all, Kelsey, why are you putting that out there? Because players
don't introduce that, man.
Hey, that's a good point, Rob. For years, how many times have we seen in games when an offense has a key drive down the field? All of a sudden, you see defensive players walking back to the huddle. They look around, and then one will sit down on the ground and pat his helmet.
Yep.
And stop play.
Remember the Chip Kelly days? They did it all the time because the teams were gassed because you couldn't substitute. He would just go in tempo, and you'd have the bigger defensive lineman would just plop down and fake an injury. It happened all the time.
Rob, I can't believe they haven't done something in terms of penalizing players for faking injuries. Now, when a player is hurt when he's not hurt.
I agree.
You see a player get up and walk to the huddle. All of a sudden, he sits down, stop play. Defensive captains go over the sideline and talk to the defensive coordinator to see what scheme they want to set up, for this, that, and the other. You have extended time, and the player will sit there. How much time do you need? How much time do you need to talk to the coach?
There's a signal. Derek, there is literally a signal. There is a hand, whatever. One of the assistants tap their head, or it's like baseball signs, right? And that means go down. It happens you see it in college, you see it in the pros. What should happen is they should be penalized like floppers should be in the NBA or in college basketball. You should be penalized for that. It's hard. I know it's hard because a player can say, "You don't know what I'm feeling on the inside. I have a strained,
exactly.
Then you get into this weird area. And
how can you tell if I'm not injured or not? You're not a medical expert.
Exactly. You're not a doctor. Right. Exactly. But no, that's something to keep your eye on as we move forward with the tush push. I agree. All right. Eagles offense. Let me share the stat with you before we dig into everything we're going to do offensively with the Eagles. Just to throw Lane Johnson a little bit of love, who we've had on the show a couple times. I know you have a very close relationship with Lane. Derek, the last sack that he allowed was week 11 of the 2020 season.
It's ridiculous.
We're now in week 6 of the 23 season.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's something.
Tell me that guy's not a Hall of Famer.
There's no question. There's no question. Oh. I don't care if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. You can't keep. I don't know if that's ever been done before. An offensive tackle not giving up a sack for close to 3 years. I don't know if this. I don't know if this ever been done before. It's something that's never been talked about before. Now we've seen offensive tackles go through stretches, 7 games, maybe 8 games, but 3 years. No, never heard of that before.
And dealing with the injuries he's had too, on top of it, the abductor last year, all the ankle stuff that he had to deal with, and yet the guy, and Kelsey's the same way. Kelsey's gone years without allowing a sack.
Now, I'm glad somebody brought it up here, because I will say this. And when we watch games for the last couple of seasons in particular, when I'm watching games with Seth Joyner and Mike Missinelli and Mark Farzetta, I see it all the time. How in the world does Lane get away with a false start every time? The dude, he's backing into a stance at least a half second before the ball is snapped. Everybody else gets called for false starts if they just flinch and move forward. If their body just somehow eases forward, it's a false start. This dude never gets called.
JM's right. You can move your back leg in anticipation.
Yeah, but he's not just moving his back leg. He's coming up in his stance. And he's never called for it.
It's really close. I'm not saying he doesn't ever do it. I'm not – believe me, I'm not saying that. But, man, he's got it down to a science. You know where we learned that? Jason Peters was a master. He was a master at that, man.
No question about it. And I can't believe – and you have a sideline judge standing right there looking at it. They never call it on him. Yeah, I'm just flabbergasted. Hey, you know what? Kudos to Lane Johnson and for the Eagles for getting away with it. But, you know, here's what I worry about. He's gotten away with it for so long. I hope it doesn't come down to a crucial moment in a playoff game. And the Eagles are like 3rd and 2 or 4th and 2. And all of a sudden he gets called for this. And now it's like 4th and 7 or 4th and 8, something like that, which changes the overall mindset of what you want to do in that situation.
Yeah.
Whether a game is tied, whether you're 1 point behind, whatever the case may be, you know, or whether you're just trying to control the clock, it changes the mindset of what an offensive strategist will go through it. But he's gotten away with this for so long, man. He's got to have referees in his back pocket. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's interesting, but I just wanted to throw that one out there. All right, so if you look at the way the year has gone thus far, so I think Hurts is an interesting case, right? Because the first, let's say 3 weeks, first 3 weeks, we were kind of saying, all right, we're seeing some good things, but ultimately he's not quite where he was,
right?
Last year,
right?
But I think especially, when you look at last week with the Rams game, is when we saw the full sort of picture there of him coming back into frame. Now, it started the week before in the passing game where he started to look better. And if you look at it, so Derek, let me just give you his numbers real quick. 170 passing yards in the Patriots game, $193 in the Vikings, 277 against Tampa. Then it's 319 against Washington, 303 last week. And then on top of it, last week, he rushes 15 times for 72 yards. Yeah. So I think he's getting there. I think the comfort level with the OC is getting there with Nick. I think countering what teams are doing against them, they're all starting to figure it out a little bit. It took him a minute. So I think for all those reasons, it's trending in the right direction. He hasn't quite played at the runner-up MVP level thus far. I would say that for sure.
No. But you know what? He's doing what needs to be done to get the job done. The last two opponents did a better job in terms of handling their running situation. So what do? You got to go to the air. Right. And look who he's throwing to, So I think his numbers are going to be either or every week, depending on what a defense is trying to take away. Then they'll go back to the other. I don't think we'll see him be a consistent 275-yard passer every game. That's not going to happen. It's just not the way this offense is run. And that's fine. As long as they continue to rack up wins and put distance between themselves and everybody else in the NFC East and staying at running for the #1 overall seed, that's all that matters. I love the demeanor of this team, and a quarterback in particular. It's not about individual stats, except for maybe one guy, but it's not about the individual stats. It's about what is our ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to get that all-important W. And that's what they're doing right now. Plain and simple.
Yeah. And that's the thing. The reason, to back up your point, the reason why he's not always going to put up those monster passing numbers is because you can run on teams. And there are going to be certain matchups where you're just going to pound teams. And we've seen that. Look at the Vikings game, the Tampa Bay Bucks game. So that's fine. Who cares, man? Just get the ball down the field. I mean, we'll get into it. The area they have to improve in is the red zone. They're 27th now in cashing in for touchdowns in the red zone. That has got to change. That's the area where there's no gray area. Without question, that's not acceptable. And maybe you get away with it for one more week, but the following week, when you start playing the Dolphins, it will bite you in the tail. Trust me.
Yes. They've got to figure this out. You've had 6 games now to figure this out. Your coaching staff has been asked about this publicly, and you've given all the right answers. Yeah, we got to improve. We got to do this, that, and the other. And every week you have not improved in that regard. Now, granted, you're still scoring 28, 30 points a game. By the grace of God, you're still racking up the points. Can't argue with that. But the bottom line is especially in a shootout type game or even a low-scoring close game, you have got to improve that element when you've got a team you know that can go down and put 7 on the board, you can't come away with threes against those better teams because you're going to be on the short side of the ledger in that scenario.
Without doubt. Without a doubt. All right, so let's stay on that. And you referenced one of the guys who we should be talking about who's on pace to have a just absolute monstrous kind of year so far, and that's AJ Brown.
I didn't talk about anybody. I just said one guy. Hey, I didn't mention any names.
All right.
I just said, hey, well, maybe one guy. That's all I said. I don't know what you're talking about, Rob.
Okay.
Hey.
All right. On a totally separate note, AJ Brown.
Yeah, there you go.
He has 541 receiving yards, Derek. So he only trails Tyreek Hill, who's got 651, Puka Nacua at 572, and Justin Jefferson with 571. So he's in that rarefied air, man. He's in the top 4 right now, and he's on pace to have a better year than he had last year when he had a phenomenal year last year. So he is, in fact, upped his game from where it was.
You know what? When you're a beast and you can outmuscle most people who are defending against you, take advantage of it. You know, and you see the respect that they give him by playing off him so much. Because, like I said, he's not the fastest receiver in the league, but he's fast enough. Once he makes that move like he's going to fake and go to the slant and goes up the field, you know, once he's behind you, it's over. It's lights out. If Jalen puts the ball in the right spot, and let's face it, 9 times out of 10, Jalen will put the ball in the right spot for him to get it. It's lights out. DB is toast. You know, he can hurt you in so many different ways. You can't tackle this man, you know, arm tackling him one-on-one. He has so many different physical attributes that's a nightmare for anybody trying to cover him. And let's face it, you know, him and Jalen are boys. And I think it's quite obvious, we've seen this, that Jalen's going to do everything possible to get his guy the ball more so than the other guys. Devontae, Goddard, whoever the case may be, AJ Brown is his guy. Yep. Plain and simple. And every quarterback has their guy, their go-to guy in an offense. So he's that for the Eagles. And you know, you look at the numbers now. I think the projected numbers is close to 1,800 yards receiving if he can stay on the current pace that he's on. Which, you know, he already shattered the Eagles' all-time receiving record. Right. But when he hit 1,496 last year, he's going to surpass that by 200-300 yards easily if this keeps up.
Yeah, no question. And you know, the other thing is, I think what sort of happened, I think a little bit to an extent with some folks, not everybody, but they're sort of looking at it like Devontae Smith hasn't contributed a whole lot. He's still having a darn good year, man. I mean, I look at his stats and through 5 games, you know, it's not going to blow you away completely, but 23 catches, 290 yards, 2 touchdowns. And you just know, like, he's coming, man. You're going to see him just start to blow up here. I guarantee it.
Yes. His time's coming. I mean, what a luxury this team has, though. When any given week, there's 4 or 5 different players that could be the headline story of this offense. Not many teams have that. You know, most teams maybe have 2, 3. This team has 4 or 5 players that could be a star in the offense at any given time. You know, and that's why this offense is so potent, because no matter how much you try to scheme for them, no matter who you try to take away, there's always another go-to option. They're 4 or 5 deep in go-to options, and that includes the running back position as well.
Yeah,
you know,
no question.
So Devontae, it's not his time yet. His time's coming. When teams start making concerted efforts to take AJ Brown out of games, then it's going to be Devontae, Goddard, Swift out of the backfield. That's when their numbers start to increase.
Yeah. And, you know, you mentioned the running game. DeAndre Swift's been awesome. You know, I mean, 434 yards, 5.7 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. He's caught the ball as well as we expected, you know, 15 catches, 75 yards. He has been more than as advertised. You know, we thought he was going to be a home run hitter. He's kind of become a home run hitter and a feature back, you know, at the same time. He's a combo of both so far.
Ooh, the word feature back, which never exists in an Eagles offense, is a word we can actually discuss now, because I think you're right. Now, granted, his touches were down last game. Gainwell got more touches, but that's okay, because when he was called upon, he did what he was supposed to do. But you're right. I think we can actually use the word feature, you know, which is something that the Eagles don't like to talk about. They like their running backs by committee. But in this case, especially with this enigma with Rashad Penny being a no-show each and every week, it basically is a two-back offense. And no question about it, Swift is at the forefront of that offense when it comes to the running backs.
Yeah. And again, only a matter of time for Goddard. There's no question about that. We saw it last week what this guy's capable of. We all know what he's capable of, having watched the guy play. And all we talked about before the season was if this guy stays healthy, you know, the sky's the limit here. And now he's been healthy. It just hasn't gone his way early, which is just part of the thing. I mean, I think about it, Derek. We're a quarter of the way, basically a quarter of the way through. There's so much football to be played, and so many different storylines are going to evolve as we go. And some things we're going to look back from the first couple of weeks, like, man, you believe Goddard only had X amount of catches the first 3 or 4, and it's going to go bye-bye. You know, and I, you know, Michael asks an interesting question here. You know, where is Penny? Michael, I don't know that the belief level is there for them with him. I just,
I can't believe they're actually trying to save him for the latter part of the season. I just can't. There's something about him that just doesn't fit right now with his team, and I don't know if it will. I don't know if they thought they could utilize his assets in a certain area and hasn't panned out, and they identified that in both training camp and preseason games, but they don't want to let him go because of insurance policy. And because, of course, when you look at, you know, Boston Scott has already missed a game with a concussion. And because of the multitudes of injuries they've had on this team, maybe he's just that insurance policy should somebody in the backfield go down. But I just can't believe he hasn't gotten more touches leading up to this point. That's one of the most baffling things about this team right now.
Yeah. Now, the other good thing is the offensive line has played up to the very high expectation we had for them. You know, I think Mailata has played better than he played last year. Certainly, Dickerson's been really good. Kelsey's been really good. Lane Johnson's been good. And, you know, they've been fine at the other guard spot, whether it was Juergens or now Sua Opeta. They've all done a nice job. They're going to be challenged this week, Derek, because this Jets team throws a really strong D-line against you. There's no question about that. So, you know, as much as there are some other areas of the Jets that you feel are very favorable for the Eagles, the O-line's got their work cut out for them.
I can't see now. They've done such an incredible job on Aaron Donald, but this kid Quinnen Williams, he is an absolute beast, and he is like being shot out of a cannon off the snap. He's very hard to control at the line of scrimmage. But you're right; their front seven could be a problem for this team. Period. You look at the linebackers they have, even that entire front seven, because they're fast, they're really good, and they complement each other very well. And then you got Sauce Gardner on the back end of that defense as well. Secondary is not shabby. But again, I do think this Eagles offense can wear them down because I think the time of possession is going to be heavily in favor of the Eagles because the Jets offense is so inept.
No, you would think, right? I mean, again, we talked about it yesterday, and we'll probably get a little bit more into this, you know, when we do the defense in a second. But I just feel like the Eagles D-line is going to wreak havoc with this offensive line of the Jets. I do.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a long day for Zach Wilson. And I think he's going to start to force things. And I think you could see strip sacks. You could see him try to do things if they get down the forced balls in there. And this could be a takeaway day for the Eagles. It really could. It could be a big takeaway day for the Eagles.
It could be a big sack, big takeaway day for the Birds.
Yeah.
I think if they hit Zach Wilson early, he's going to be like Fred Astaire back there. You know, happy feet. He's gonna be happy feet when he goes back to pass. I'm telling you, he'll be moonwalking back there. And when he says hut, and as soon as that ball is snapped, he's gonna be looking left and right to see, is it Josh Sweat? Is it Hassan Reddick? Who am I looking at? Is it Jalen Carter? I mean, is it Jordan Davis? He's got a whole lot to worry about other than executing the game plan. Yeah. Because let's face it, no quarterback likes to get hit. And certain quarterbacks, if you hit them early enough, when they start to feel the pressure, and Matthew Stafford was one of these quarterbacks, when they start to feel the pressure, they curl up. Instead of standing in the pocket and trying to throw a strike until the nth degree, they'll curl up and brace for the hit more so than taking that unnecessary hit.
No, agreed. All right, let's come back. Let's do some defense here, D-Gun. And we'll get into, you know, with the good, the bad, what needs to improve, but what's been just eye-opening so far. And the hint, his name sounds like Jalen Carter has been spectacular. So We'll get into that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take. All right, let's talk about Pro Action Restoration. Yeah, Pro Action Restoration. You get rain, you get fire. You know, there could be some flooding in your house. There could be some mold issues. There could be some smoke issues, whatever it is, right? And you're not sure what to do. And it's an inconvenient time because these things never happen, you know, at any kind of convenient time, right? So you reach out to Pro Action Restoration because they're on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. I can tell you from personal experience, and you know, I don't endorse things that I don't back and that I haven't lived through. And I lived through it. It happened at my parents' house. They got flooding in their basement. I reached out to Pro Action Restoration, and they got out there on a Saturday right away. They fixed the problem. It was really an awesome experience all around. The crew was professional. The price was right. They are licensed, bonded, fully insured. They've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action Restoration will work in conjunction with your insurance company. So water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, could be something else. You're not really sure that you're up to handling it. Just reach out to them. 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
My name is Dr. Bruce Grossinger, and I'm the medical director of Philadelphia PRP and Stem Cell Institute. I'm reaching out to those who suffer from spine and joint pain. We use treatment methods that require no surgery, no scalpel, no drugs.
Running, walking, or whatever your desires are, Dr. Grossinger is where you need to come.
You can benefit from the same PRP and stem cell treatment as Wilbert Montgomery. Call us now at 610-222-5675.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. EAGLES, Eagles.
We're back. Yes, we are. Appreciate you hanging with us, making us a part of your day. Hit the like button if you could, friends. That would be great. D-Gun will send you checks and prizes.
Yeah, really. Yeah, right. No, send me checks. Once again, send me checks to the Help D-Gun Relocate to San Diego Foundation.
Here we go.
I've been working on this foundation for 10 years, and everybody keeps saying, "You ain't going anywhere. We're not sending anything."
They do say that. I do hear that.
Yes, but I will continue my fight to get the D-Gun Help D-Gun move to San Diego Foundation, moved back to San Diego Foundation. It's a worthy cause. You're helping put D-Gun at peace of mind. You're sending him off in a blaze of glory, you know. And because my wife's hometown is about an hour and a half from San Diego, she would be extremely appreciative of it as well. So if you have any compassion for D-Gun whatsoever, again, it's help D-Gun relocate to San Diego Foundation.
Twiz wants you to send him checks, not you send him, us checks. Thank you.
Hey, Twiz, I don't care about no Cali taxes, man. Hey, look, San Diego is the joint, bro. Oh, please. He can own 3 houses in San Diego yesterday. No, I can't do that. I can't. Hey, but I got a quick story for you, Rob.
Yeah.
So a few weeks ago, somebody notifies me on Twitter of a T-shirt that's out there.
Okay.
And it's a well-designed T-shirt of Eagles head of security, Dom DeSandro, right? So I immediately—
Dom's got his own T-shirt.
Oh, dude, I sent you in Tone a picture of it.
I saw it. Yeah, Tone. Okay. I don't know if Tone has it or not, but yeah, we can pull it up.
So
I tell you about, you see some crazy stuff now, man.
Yes.
Here we go.
It gets better. All right. So here's what this one looks like. I don't know who the person is that did it. He's just called Dom. I mean, if you look at it, it's great, right? So then I found out that the Eagles, not this shirt, but they're making a series of shirts with Dom's image on it.
Oh my God.
And they're going to be in the Eagles Pro Shop, and they're selling them to help raise money for autism. And one of the shirts says, "Who are you going to call?" You know, another one is Dom. You know, Dom's Italian, so it's one, and it says Italia on it with Dom's, image on it as well.
Yeah.
Now, if you know anything about Dom does not like notoriety for anything.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't like being in the spotlight for anything. He just wants to do his job. So he's a little embarrassed by this. So I've been egging him on all morning with these shirts. I said, dude, if you give me an XL or something, I'll wear it on the show. I definitely will wear it on the show. But, you know, it's for a good cause. But he keeps talking about, man, I look too husky, man. But they did some of these shirts, and I'll send them to you guys. Now, we can't show them because it's not official yet. But,
okay.
You know me, I'm going to give it to Dom every chance I get.
Yeah, man, I'd wear one. Got it. I absolutely would wear one.
So I have to tell you, whoever does our captions and puts them out on social media, don't mention it. I'm just doing it for the fan base here and for us. Don't mention it yet, publicly, because I don't want any call from the Eagles. I don't want to hear from the Eagles. So.
I got you. We need to keep you in good standing with the Birds. That's for sure.
I've been on the wrong side of the Birds, but once I've argued my point with them, they're like, you know what, you're right, D-Gun. I've gone through the years. I've gone back and forth with certain high-ranking officials in the Eagles organization, and we've always come to a meeting of the minds. They
respect you, man.
Their job is to protect their entity and their image, and they don't want certain things out until certain things out. And I've, broken certain stories they wish that I have sat on for a while. But I'm thinking, wait a minute, if it's my story, why can't I break it before Adam Schefter or Tom Pelissero or some other media person in Philadelphia does it? It's fair game.
I'll tell you this. I'm biased, obviously. You break more Eagles stories locally than anybody, period. You won't say it, but I'll say it.
I appreciate it.
No, it's true. It's true.
There's a whole lot of stuff, dude. There's a whole lot of stuff I can't even say.
No, but as a reporter, part of it is knowing stuff you can put out and stuff you can't put out. And you have a very good handle on that. And some don't. Yeah. So I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to name any names.
The funny joke is a lot of former set players like Trotter and Ike Reese and Hugh Douglas, those guys would always say, D-Gun knows where the bodies are buried.
That's correct.
Yeah, but they will go to the grave with D-Gun because I don't want to have to go into witness protection program.
The only one who knows where more bodies are buried is Big Dom.
Is Big Dom.
Correct?
Big Dom. And you talk about enforcers. Have you seen this video that's been out there on like Instagram and other social media platforms? I don't know who put this video together, but it's funny. And I sent it to Dom and he goes, man, people have too much free time on their hand. It's a montage of Big Dom like escorting people out of the stadium.
Or if someone's trying to walk into a live shot, he'll just grab. You remember that time he just grabbed him?
Oh my goodness. Now, Big Dom, just to give you the picture for those of you who don't know, Big Dom is like 6'2" and probably 320. Now, when I say 320, Big Dom is put together. I mean, it's not like just a wad of 320. Yep. Big Dom is put together, okay? And Big Dom is my boy. And I said, if I ever had to get in a bar fight, he's the first dude I'm calling, You know, and Big Dom is taking care of me in some cases as well. But he's a big dude. All he wants to do is his job. Doesn't like limelight. Stays out of the spotlight. The best in the business at making situations go away. I give him all the props in the world. I could not do his job. This dude is on call 24/7. Even when he's on vacation, he's on call.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a lot of times he gets calls at 1 a.m., 2:30, 3:15. It's like, what? What?
Yeah, and it's got to be. It's a crazy job, man. If he ever I don't think he ever would, but if he ever decided to write a book, it would be fascinating.
Hey, you see what Tone said in our private chat? Look what Tone said.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, well, we could say it, right? Can we? I don't
Go ahead. Yeah, you can say it. Go ahead.
That I met Big Dom, and let me tell you, that's a grown-ass man. Yeah, I agree. I concur. I've met Big Dom, and he is a grown-ass man. That is
you would not know that Big Dom is in his 40s, man. He's like a baby face. He's such a baby face. But dude, let me tell you something. He is the no-nonsense dude, man. He has called people in his office, and when I'm talking about people, I'm talking about star players in his office and read them the riot act, no holds barred. No word is off the table, bar. And I always ask him, I said, what did the players say? He didn't say anything. You better not say anything. And I'm talking.
He'll take on anybody. There is no fear. There is no it doesn't. You're right. It could be the highest. It could be the best player on the team.
Yes.
It could be the worst player on the team. He doesn't care. I will just tell you that. There's no airs put on there.
I will say through the years, he's actually made a few players cry. Correct. I will honestly say that. Yep. And as far as I go, and I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you? I'm like, Jesus.
Oh, so, listen, no doubt about it. All right. So let's look at the defensive side of this thing.
Yes.
Really good against the run, Derek. I mean, really good against the run. Other side of it is they have really struggled against the pass. The thing is, I don't know if I view the passing part of it, I don't think they're necessarily like really underachieving. I think it's kind of what it is, and you got to deal with it.
It's an evolution of a new direction. You had to replace Hargrave. You go out, you draft a Jalen Carter. Your Jordan Davis was your holdover. Your young secondary had to get younger and different. You went out and got a bunch of young players. They're going to go through growing pains. I get that. Sorry, Bobby Murphy. He says we want names. Never going to happen. Sorry, can't do it. But it's an evolution. It happens. Every so many years, you have to do this. You can't have the best of the best at every position. They had a luxury last year, you know, of surplus of good players in the trenches, linebacker, except Kazir White fell off by the wayside in the latter part of the season.
Yeah.
You know, but you had TJ Edwards anchoring that thing. And look at the back end. You picked up CJ GJ. He turned out to be a gem for you. You know, he missed some games because of injury. But when you needed the most, he was there. You had the 2 Pro Bowl corners, you know. And then you had a young emerging Blankenship, you know, who emerged because CJ was down. You know, so he got valuable playing time. But now you got to you always got to try to get younger, you know, to get better. And I love the way the Eagles slowly pass the baton. They slowly get younger before they're officially done with certain players to help make that transition that much smoother. But in this case, what did they do? They kept the offense intact. Contract was structured so that they knew they were going to have the offense, not just for this year, but for next year as well, except, you know, Kelsey's iffy. Kelsey's year to year, but next year as well for the most part. Defensively, they knew they had to let, five players they knew they weren't going to pay on that side of the ball. Well, there's no way they were going to pay Javon Hargrave $84 million. There's no way.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, at some point you got to draw a line, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You know, the CJ thing was weird. It seemed like he didn't get all that much money. I don't know exactly what went down there.
Right.
But yeah, do they miss him? Yeah, they miss him. And then Avante going down was a big thing to this team.
Big blow. I think if Avante was back there, it would help solidify and calm down a lot of things on the back end. But now you don't have them. So now you got to mix and match. And I think it's going to be even with Roby here, I think it's going to be a trial and error in terms of how we're going to use certain people in the secondary. It just is, you know, and that's why I've said many times, I think the pass defense is going to be hit or miss all season long. You know, I think the pass defense, this game coming up against the Jets is the last, I hate to put it like this, but this is the last vacation day that this secondary has. I mean, when you look at some of the problems they've had defending the pass against Minnesota, against the Rams, they made adjustments and shut that thing down. You're going to have more passing problems. You are.
I agree.
You're going to shut down Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Geno Smith? No.
It doesn't mean they can't improve. They can get better, but
get better.
It's still worrisome though. I mean, it is because of these, especially knowing these teams you're going to be playing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And let's face it, these are quarterbacks that chew up the best of the best defenses, as well. So, as frustrated as you might be, and of course, we're going to hear all the frustrated comments on social media when they play these teams coming up. You have to come to a realization. It's got to go through growing pains before you get it to where it wants to be. And when I say getting it to where it wants to be or needs to be, that's in 2024, not necessarily 2023. Doesn't mean they can't get back deep into the playoffs. Doesn't mean they can't secure a #1 seed. Doesn't mean they can't even get back to the Super Bowl. It's just that aspect of the team is going to be evolving and growing for the duration of this season.
Yeah. All right. The flip side of that is back to the ability to stuff the run. Carter's been great, and we've talked a lot about Carter, obviously, in general, but this week. He's been really good. Fletcher Cox, and I know he missed last week's game and he's limited in practice, but looks like he's on a good track here to get back. He's having, I think, Derek, his best start to a season that we've seen maybe in a few years from him. He's been excellent. And the combo of the younger guys playing well with Fletcher in the interior, it makes them, I think, the best four that you have in football with Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, and Fletcher Cox.
I couldn't agree more. And as you were talking about that, I'm trying to think of another group of four that can rotate and not be a liability. I can't think of another team that has a rotation of four like the Eagles do that are that effective in terms of what they're asked to do. Most teams have a combination of two, maybe a third one, maybe. But for the most part, most teams rely on two guys at that D tackle spot to be the heavyweights and the lockdown guys for what they're trying to do in terms of stopping and disrupting an offense. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the Eagles, man, Jordan Davis, valuable experience last year in a limited role. Milton Williams has been here for several years and has gotten better every year. And Fletcher Cox is the grandfather of the group and still playing at a high level right now. And I do believe, we talked about this jokingly, I do believe the youth movement in the trenches has helped Fletcher kind of tap into the fountain of youth.
Yeah.
I
think that's real. I think it's real, man. I do. I think it's a combination of he's not being leaned on as heavily, especially in the run game, because other guys can do it as well. But yeah, I mean, there is something to be said for that sort of, exuberance. I give him credit too. He's taken to the role of being a mentor. There are a lot of veterans. We've seen it before, where guys are like, not my job. Like, okay, you can take that attitude. That's fine. But I think it's a win-win, with the way that Fletcher Cox has handled this thing. He hasn't taken it like, oh, they drafted 2 defensive tackles the last 2 years in the first round as a slight. He looks at it like, look, I know what the reality is. I'm 30-something years old. But guess what? I'm still here, man, and I'm still crushing it. So it's good.
I always find it funny how players evolve into roles out of necessity. I can remember 4, 5, 6 years ago, and this is when the Brandon Grahams and the Fletcher Coxes were in their prime, and we would ask them, who's the leader? Do you think you need to step up as a leader? And those guys would always say, well, I like to lead by example. You had a whole locker room full of guys who said they wanted to lead by example.
Right.
And that included the Jason Kelce's and even the Lane Johnsons, and maybe they just didn't feel comfortable, speaking up. You had older players. You had the Jason Peters here. You had players, that were older than them, and maybe they just put the onus on the older players. But in their situations right now, they talk openly about being those verbal leaders because they know somebody helped them to get to this point as a leader. And now it's imperative that they do the same for the next generation. Yeah. They know their days, weeks, months are numbered with this organization as a player for the Philadelphia Eagles and in the bigger scheme of things as a professional football player. And because this organization has been so loyal to them, they've won a Super Bowl. They've had a great measure of success overall in their careers here. Now it's on them. You know what? I owe this organization. They kept me here. Think about it. Fletcher Cox still here at 33. That's a rarity for a D tackle to still be with the same team.
Yeah.
Brandon Graham, 35, still here. Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, they're all still here. When you think about some of the more big name players at those positions in the NFL that have moved on, for more money and another shot somewhere else at a chance of glory, they've stayed here. So I think the mindset is we owe this organization. We don't have to uproot our families. This is going to be our home when we retire. Think about it. All those names that I mentioned, they're not from here.
No.
They didn't grow up here.
Nope.
Oklahoma, Ohio, Michigan,
Texas,
to Mississippi, Texas. This is their home now when its playing days are said and done. That speaks volumes in terms of what the organization has done for them and how they go about their business of thanking the organization, of going out of their way now. The same group of guys that wanted to let their actions speak for themselves, now they are the verbal ones in the locker room. This is how we do it. This is how you get better because this is where we're trying to go.
Yeah, well said. The other thing is I think the linebackers have played better than at least I anticipated. Morrow has stepped up his game. Zach Cunningham pretty well. What do you think happens here if, let's say, he plays this week or, the following week, whatever, when they see, feel like Nakobe Dean is fit to play? Does he step right back into that middle linebacker spot with Cunningham and Morrow goes to the bench? Is that how you see it playing out?
I don't know if both will go to the bench, but I do believe one of them will go.
No, I'm saying Cunningham stays in there to play alongside Nakobe, and then you think they bench.
I don't know.
Morrow?
I don't know which one it is. I would say Morrow because they both have played well, especially over the last couple of weeks. But in terms of size and ability to stonewall a run, you look at Morrow, he's 6'1", 215. You look at Cunningham, he's like 6'3", 235.
Yeah.
Who do you want? I want a bigger guy. I want a bigger guy that can take on tackles or pulling guards coming around the edge to basically disrupt what they're trying to do and open a hole for a running back so somebody else like a linebacker or a safety can shoot through and blow up a running play. I don't know. I don't know what Desai and Patricia are thinking in terms, do you want Morrow's speed or do you want Cunningham's stoutness on the field more times than not?
I think it's a tough call. You know what?
It's a very tough call.
It may be something where Nakobe's active, but he doesn't start right away. I don't know. I think you're gonna have to see how it shakes out. I would hate to lose Cunningham's size because I think you're smaller with both Morrow and Dean, so you'd have to. I would rather have Cunningham in there personally, as far as the linebackers go. I
can't argue. There's an argument for both. I can't argue. If you have a team that is pounding the football at you and having success, you got to get the bigger body in there. If you got a team that's going to throw the ball more, definitively more than run the ball, Morrow's a quicker guy. I got to have him in there.
Yeah.
It's a mix and match. I don't know. And I think it's determined by game to game. It really is. It's like the running back position. Who's the hot guy at that particular time? Who's making the plays at that particular time? Determine who's on the field more times than not.
Yep. Well said. Well said, my friend. All right. So beyond that, defensively, I think the corners have been fine. In other words, the starting corners. Darius Slay, and of course, if you didn't hear earlier, he was out of practice yesterday with a knee. If we find out what's going on with practice today, we'll let you know. And Bradbury, I think they've been fine. Not great, Derek. Not bad. They've been fine. Have they played up to the level you expected necessarily, or is this kind of what you anticipated with guys who were in their 30s now?
For guys who are in their 30s, are we're talking about Slay and Bradbury in particular?
And Bradbury.
I'm trying to get. It's based on the individual, Rob, and here's why.
Okay.
I look at a Stephon Gilmore, who's like 32, 33, still playing at a high level.
Yeah.
James Bradbury is what, 30, I believe it is?
Yeah, 30, 31.
Slay's 32-ish. Bradbury, they're both playing at a good level. you know, a lot of people now are saying Slay has lost a step. Slay is getting beat more and more. If you present that to Slay, I'm sure he would argue against that 100 times out of 100.
I'm sure he would.
I do think there's possibly some creaks in the armor at this point, but I don't think it has been anything that has been definitively glaring in terms of a weakness up to this point. I think he is a smarter player. I think he reads wide receiver routes very well. I think he knows how to cheat. If there is such a thing as losing a step at 32, 33, which I'm sure there is, I think, you know, let's face it, players, when you get to that level, players know how to cheat. They have their own cheat sheet, how to cheat to get that same advantage that they've had when they were in their late 20s even. I haven't seen, you correct me. Now, every cornerback gets beat.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen Slay get beat consistently over the top in any way, shape, or form.
No, nor have I. I don't know. When I bring it up, I look at them and I think they played pretty close to my expectation level. I think they've been maybe a little less. I would like to see them be a little bit more. I think the team in general, early, they were doing a good job taking the ball away. We haven't seen it nearly as much. I think we're going to know a lot more about these guys, Derek. I hate to always keep going to this like default here, but I think we're going to know a lot more about them when we start playing teams like Miami and, you know, when we see those kind of things, like when they start playing those teams. That's what I think we're because let's face it. I mean, it's not that they haven't gone against good receivers. They have. I mean, you went against Jefferson, Addison, Evans, Godwin, McLaurin, Dotson, Cup, you know, Puka Nacua, et cetera. But it's really going to up the ante here with Miami, with their guys, with Washington. Again, you know, who are the guys I just named? Dallas, Kansas City, Buffalo, San
Francisco. And see, here's the thing. Kansas City doesn't have a so-called number one receiver. But because of the scheme they run, they always get receivers open. Yeah. It's like watching San Francisco. San Francisco has a better collection of pass catchers, but San Francisco's scheme always has guys open.
Yep.
And that's the way Kansas City's is. So you can't totally put the onus on the Eagles' pass defenders, because these are offenses that have chewed up very good pass defenses across the league. Yeah. You just hope you can minimize the success of what these offenses will present to you. The only thing I don't like about Slay and Bradbury's play is I think they give wide receivers too much cushion. I don't know if that's on them or if that's the scheme that Desai wants to play, giving these wide receivers that much cushion. I think you need to come up and bump these dudes, you know, knock them off their routes more, especially like in 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 situations. You know, you see them back up, and you see a lot of teams do this, but more so when you have the front 4 pressure that this team has, I don't think your DB should be 5 to 7 yards off the ball, giving them that kind of cushion to catch the ball in a seam and pick up additional yards because your DBs and your safeties are playing that far off of them. That's just my philosophy.
I think you bring up an interesting point. Like, I don't know if I know philosophically they don't believe in giving up the big play. Therefore, they play it a little bit more cautious, if you will. But how much of that is because they know that that's the best way to go with these guys at this point in their careers with Slay and Bradbury? I don't know. I mean, I think that's kind of the $1 million question. It's the chicken or the egg with this defense. But good thing with them so far is really good against the run. Have to get better against the pass. That's for sure. You know, I think, like I said, early on, you saw a lot of turnovers being created. That's something they need to get back to for sure. And I think this is a game where you can get that. This is a game where you can potentially gain a lot of confidence going into the Miami game. You know, really on both sides of the ball, but especially on the defensive side.
I think you hit it. I think you hit it right on the head. And I couldn't agree with you more. This is a game you could pad some stats in a lot of ways. Sacks, pressures, run defense.
Yep.
Quarterback's completion percentage, you know, dropping. As good as Breece Hall has been this week, he's running behind an offensive line that could be down 2 more offensive linemen. I don't see them having that measure of success running the football against this Eagles front. this is the game you can be flawed and still be very successful in. And that's what I expect going into this game. You know, I don't think it's going to be pretty by any stretch of the imagination, but there better be things that you've identified over the first 5 weeks that you are working on that look better this week compared to the first 5 weeks. Not where you want it to be, but look better than what we've seen in the first 5 weeks, especially the red zone offense, or that could be a major concern.
Agreed. All right, let's get a timeout. Let's come back. We'll dive into the NFL. We have a game tonight, Gunner. Broncos and the Chiefs. We'll fill you in on Travis Kelce's status for that game. A lot of other things going on. Frank Clark, who was played for both teams, could be going bye-bye as Denver denies they're selling parts off, but feels like they're selling parts off.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, really.
We'll see. I'll give you a status update on Daniel Jones, a bunch of other stuff, and we do our NFC power rankings. NFC top 5 power rankings. When we get back, don't go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. I want to tell you about Flynn Tree Services. Yes, Flynn Tree Services is an experienced and licensed, also insured Pennsylvania tree services company that will trim or remove any unwanted trees off of your property. They offer cost-effective solutions to any tree problem that you may face, and they are just a quick phone call away. They serve southeastern Pennsylvania, South Jersey, as well as northern Delaware. Now, keep in mind, this is kind of the calm before the storm, right? Fall, then the winter hits, and then you get some snow or some crazy weather, winds, all that kind of stuff could maybe bring some trees down. It's a good time to get your trees evaluated. And you can go to their Facebook or their Instagram page to get a sampling of their work. Give Flynn Tree Services a call at 610-850-2848, 610-850-2848, or online at flynntreeservices.com. That's flynntreeservices.com.
If you own a company and you're not producing a podcast, you're missing out. The public consumes messaging when they're ready. Join the professional podcast network of companies and let JAKIB Media Partners put you in the podcast arena. Come to our professional studio, or we'll come to your place of business and professionally produce your company podcast. Call JAKIB Media right now at 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428.
My name is Dr. Bruce Grossinger, and I'm the medical director of Philadelphia PRP and Stem Cell Institute. I'm reaching out to those who suffer from spine and joint pain. We use treatment methods that require no surgery, no scalpel, no drugs.
Running, walking, or whatever your desires are, Dr. Grossinger is where you need to come.
You can benefit from the same PRP and stem cell treatment as Wilbert Montgomery. Call us now at 610-222-5675.
Score and save in southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com. EAGLES, Eagles.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We appreciate it, everybody. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Rob Ellis, D Gun, hanging with you. All right, Gunner, we do have a game tonight. It kind of got lost in the shuffle of, you know, everything that's going on here, Phillies and whatnot, but there is a game. Broncos and the Chiefs. Now, we know the Broncos have been a disaster. Chiefs may be without Travis Kelce. He was questionable. He's questionable for the game. If you didn't see last week's game, he went down non-contact, and you're thinking, oh boy, because that's usually bad. But he came out of the game, but came back, you know, as he usually does, and plays well. So he may be out now. When he was out the first game of the year, granted, Chris Jones was out too. The Chiefs did lose. I'm not making a case for the Broncos here by any stretch. I'm just telling you it might give them a little bit more of a shot in this game.
They don't need Travis Kelce to beat Denver.
No, 10.5-point favorites at Kansas City, by the way.
Oh, and Kansas City on top of that? Oh, geez. Now, it might be a little bit closer, which will make it more entertaining because, let's face it, Thursday night games are very rarely competitive. It's always like a David versus a Goliath, you know, in one of those games. But I think based on what I said yesterday, Kansas City's not blowing people out. No. But Kansas City's finding ways to win games with that guy named Mahomes under center. Denver's in desperation mode. You know what Sean Payton said, we're not having a fire sale. Really? Because you got rid of Randy Gregory. You let him go to San Francisco. Now the word's out that you're getting rid of Frank Clark, who you just brought in for good money from Kansas City this year.
Yeah, you just restructured him too, which and now they're either trying to get some kind of trade value for him, or they may just end up cutting him. They must have feel like they need pass rushers, Derek, because you now let two walk out the door. I don't know.
I mean, this is what's shocking. Denver's defense is a sieve. Denver's defense is last in the league. They're giving up 451 yards per game. This was a defense that was pretty good last year.
Pretty good. Most of the year, they were in the top 3.
Right. They're giving up 36 points a game and giving up 188 yards rushing a game. Sean Payton has inherited a mess. And I thought Sean Payton, and I'm the first one to admit I was wrong. I thought Sean Payton, just his presence would go in there and turn that thing around. Now, offensively, they're like middle of the road. They're averaging 328 a game, which is nothing to write home about. And they're scoring 24 points a game. But they're averaging 104 yards rushing. They have some good running backs.
Yeah.
But this has been an absolute collapse on the part of what Sean Payton has done with that team.
Let me ask
basically not better than what Nathaniel Hackett did.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. You know, and you said he's inherited a train wreck. I mean, I get it. They were a mess last year, but has he not made it worse? They're worse than they were under Nathaniel Hackett so far. They are. I mean, defensively, they're way worse. It's not even close. Russell Wilson's numbers aren't bad, but if you watch the games, he's not the same Seattle guy.
No, not even close.
And
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. You know what? Funny, outside of getting blown out by Miami 70-0, they've been just like last year. As bad as their defense is this year, just like last year, they're losing a lot of close games. They lost to the Raiders by 1 point to open the season. The next week they lose to Washington by 2. Then after the blowout, Miami, they came from behind and beat Chicago by 3, and then they lose to the Jets by 10 at home, to the Jets by 10 at home. So it's not like they're getting blown out except for the one game. It's just that they can't find a winning combination for whatever the reason. It's one of the more baffling things in all of football this year. I know they lost a couple of receivers due to injuries. I mean, Russell Wilson's completing 67% of his passes. He's got 11 touchdowns and only 2 picks, and he's been sacked 15 times, which is not bad, but not great. But
yeah, I don't see it turning around. Like, do I think they're going to win one game all year? No, they'll mix in a couple wins here. But if I'm them, I'm absolutely selling off parts. I don't care what it looks like. I mean, I get you still don't. I think you still have to put up this front that, oh, we're still trying to win because it's only 6 games into the season, whatever. By the time you get to like week 8 or 9, I mean, and it still looks like this. I'm trying to get as many draft picks as I can get. Try and get as much surplus. The problem they have is, Derek, they're locked in with a lot of guaranteed money with Russell Wilson. And Sean Payton's under a monster contract. So he's not going anywhere, even if this doesn't look like it's on the right path with him.
Not only that, Rob, but look at the draft capital this team has given up in 2 consecutive years to get Russell and Sean. They had to give up big capital to get Sean from New Orleans.
True.
You know, Peyton was still under contract with them. They have basically put themselves in draft purgatory, you know. So, and look at the draft picks they got back for Randy Gregory. What, a 6th, 7th round pick? What are you going to get for Frank Clark?
Yeah.
What do you know? I mean, this is as bad as the defense is. It's a defense that has 12 quarterback sacks.
Right.
Okay, which is not bad. It's like right there with the best of the best in the league. But Frank Clark has played 2 games. He only has 2 tackles, no sacks.
Mm-hmm.
But how much guaranteed money did you give this dude?
Yeah. And how do you just make the move in the offseason and you know this quickly that he needs to go? It's almost like, was the general manager, I think it's George Patton, I think is his name, whatever. And
George Patton.
I think that's what his name is, actually.
Yeah.
And Sean Payton, were they not on an agreement here? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I would be questioning if I'm ownership, for example. You know, like, what's going on here, guys? We just signed this guy and gave him pretty good money. It is George Patton. It's P-A-T-O-N as opposed to T-T-O-N.
Okay.
For those historians paying attention out there. But no, I mean, they're a puzzling bunch, man. I didn't think it looked like this. I did not think it would look like this for them.
No. I thought it would be a slam dunk that Denver would win more games than they won last year. Now, here's what they signed Frank Clark to. So they signed him to it was a 1-year deal for $5.5 million, fully guaranteed. So the good thing is they're out from under that contract this year. They're gonna have to pay him. Now the contract can be up to $7.5 million with incentives. Well, there's no way he's getting $7.5 million from Denver if they cut him. Yeah. But basically, they realize right now that he has been a $5.5 million bust for this team.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
But the good news for them is, considering the money they owe Russell, they get out from under Frank Clark in a hurry. And I guess they didn't have to trade for him. They signed him as a free agent. So that's good because you gave up a whole lot of draft capital to get Russell Wilson in there, who has not been what you've expected him to be.
No, not at all.
So you're right. Trying to get back some draft picks because they're hurting for draft picks next year. They're hurting.
Yeah, for sure. All right, couple other things here. We talked about it yesterday. Kirk Cousins is tuning out any noise about a potential trade, thinks it's frankly absurd, doesn't buy it, you know, et cetera. I don't think he's going anywhere ultimately. I mean, how often do we see that kind of trade in the NFL? And how quickly can you get a guy up to speed, even a veteran like that in your offense if you're a team like the Jets? I'm not saying it's not worth consideration. It is. But I don't think he'll be moved. Let me put it to you that way.
Well, as I talked about yesterday, if somehow, some way, the Vikings season continues to spiral out of control, guess what? They're going to be at the top of the draft pecking order next year. The draft next year is loaded with good Hey, can you imagine them being in line to get Caleb Williams from USC?
Yeah.
And there's a number of other quarterbacks that are coming out next year that, you know, scouts are salivating over as well.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine the Vikings being in the top 5 or 6 and getting a shot at one of these quarterbacks.
It's not a team we thought, but it's a team that very much could be in that mix, Derek. You're right.
Absolutely.
You're right about that.
And let's, you know, people thought I was joking when I said this, and I've seen this reported too many times. You know, should the Jets make the push to trade for Kirk Cousins before their season gets out of control? It looks bad right now, but they're still in the mix when you think about it.
It's a straight rental. Yeah, you're renting him for the rest of this year.
Yes.
You know he's a free agent. He walks at the end of the year. You're going back to Rodgers next year.
Yep.
It's not crazy. It's not crazy at all. It isn't. And everybody knows what it is. Cousins knows. Cousins goes out there and balls out and wins some playoff games.
Yep.
And all he's doing is getting more money for himself next year.
That's exactly right, because he's not going to get it with the Jets, and he still gets his money that he's, what is it, 20-something million, 30-something million
guaranteed.
This year.
His salary is guaranteed
for this year. So it's not like he's losing money this year. And, the Jets get a quarterback, probably take a couple of weeks before he gets on the same page with the entire offense and gets in tune with like Alan Lazard and Garrett Wilson and those guys. But he can still be a guy who can help salvage their season.
Yeah.
Now, I always talk about how Kirk Cousins is a Hall of Fame quarterback in the regular season and an afterthought in the postseason. Never does anything in the postseason. But he can help the Jets get there. And that would really help that organization save face, considering the high expectations from one end of the country to the other. Everybody on the outside looking in had in anticipation of the Jets being a serious playoff contender.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I don't know how much you've been paying attention to the Deshaun Watson stuff in Cleveland. It's kind of weird. So basically, Kevin Stefanski, the coach, said that Watson had been medically cleared, but he decided not to play with that shoulder. Okay. Watson hasn't spoken. And they don't know if he's going to play this week either. And I don't believe he's practiced. So this thing's starting to get a little weird right now.
Well, on the surface, a lot of times, let's face it, trainers, doctors will give, structurally it looks sound. All the MRIs and the x-rays show it's structurally sound. But from a player perspective who knows what he's supposed to feel like to play the game at the highest level, hey, look, man, I'm telling you guys, something's not right here. I don't have the same velocity. It hurts when I throw across my body. So, there's going to be that battle. So if he decides to step down, I don't think in any way, shape, or form, Deshaun Watson is shying away from playing. I think he looks at it as having been given newfound life. Getting out of Houston, finally getting the off the field mess behind him, $230+ million guaranteed, with a team that when he's playing is a pretty good team. It's a pretty good team and a playoff contending team. So I think competitively he wants to be out there. If he decided not to play a game himself, that tells me he doesn't think something feels right in that shoulder, despite what the medical experts are saying.
Yeah. Yep. The other one, this is encouraging here for Miami. It looks like Jalen Ramsey's getting close, and they anticipate him being able to play by November. He had the knee surgery in July. His position coach, Sam Madison, said he's progressing physically, staying engaged mentally, and could play as early as November. So that's big. You throw him into that mix, it's almost like a late season trade.
Well, that's good. That's good for the opposition that have to play Miami up until he comes back. Bad for Miami because they still got to piecemeal this thing until he comes back. But Jalen Ramsey is still a very good cornerback. Now he got lost in the shuffle in a bad Rams defense last year. People are saying, he's lost this, he's lost that. Jalen Ramsey is still a good, cornerback. Tall, can run, can battle bigger receivers, doesn't give up a whole lot. They're going to need him back down the stretch. And you can't have him now. If you can't have him now, it's sure nice to have him when you need him most in late November, early December, if you can keep him healthy.
Cowboys make it official. Leighton Vander Esch on the injured reserve.
Woo, yeah.
With the neck, and they've now lost him. They lost Diggs.
Yep.
So the injuries are starting to mount a little bit on that side. You remember the Eagles brought in Rashaan Evans for a minute. You remember him? Titans former first rounder.
Oh yes.
The Cowboys have brought him in too now. So he's in with Vander Esch out. So a couple that's getting a little worrisome from the Cowboys there on that side of the ball.
Well, the Eagles let him go real quick for whatever reason. They saw enough of him when he came in here and made a decision real quick. Okay, you're not what we're looking for. I just hope if they do pick him up down in Dallas, he doesn't go down there and all of a sudden he's the talk of every time you see Dallas on a national game because he's fit into that defense so well and playing well. Yeah. That's the last thing I want to hear.
I don't see that. I don't see that.
I don't, but you never know. With schemes, you just never know.
No, I hear you. All right. Interestingly enough, so if the Eagles beat the Jets and they're 12-0 in the history of the matchup with each other.
Yep.
Eagles are. Jalen Hurts will join Tom Brady and Joe Montana as the only quarterbacks to win 12 straight on the road. Nice company right there.
Hey, you know what? That's something you sit back when your days are said and done and talk about and brag about forever. That's some elite company right there, brother. You know, and people have to understand how hard that is to do, to win 12 consecutive games on the road. You know, even when you're playing a team that's less than stellar, those teams, you know, they get tired of getting kicked around also, and they got some high-priced players on their team also, and you know, you just never know. You know, the term "any given Sunday" comes into play so well, so perfectly fit for NFL games, because you just never know from week to week. You look at the Buffalo team that blow out Miami and turn around and struggle to score points against the Jacksonville team. You know, you just never know week to week what could possibly happen. And of course, you keep your fingers crossed, because you always have to factor in some kind of devastating injury that could occur.
Yeah, that's always in play, man. There's no question about that. DK Metcalf said that Jamar Chase is great, but I think Devin Witherspoon will get the best of him. The rookie Devin Witherspoon, your guy out of Illinois. I don't know. I love Witherspoon. I'm not sure I'm going there. I'm not sure I'm going there on that one. Jamar Chase is a beast, and he came back pretty strong last week.
DK, why would you put that rookie on an island like that? You know, Rob, you know it's well documented. Witherspoon was my favorite cornerback coming out of the draft. Seattle takes him high.
Yep.
Lo and behold, he has played very well. You're talking about trying to defend Jamar Chase for a whole game?
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow seems to be getting back in sync now.
Yep.
DK, come on, man. You got to be smart enough. You can't put a rookie in. Now, if you're talking about Stephon Gilmore, that's one thing. But you're talking about a rookie, dude. It's got to go up against Jamar Chase, Mr. 7-Eleven. He's always open. And last week, he was always open. You know, now you know what's going to happen. Jamar is going to use that as bulletin board material and want to go out there and put up similar numbers to what he did this past week. What do you have? 15 catches.
Oh, and
like
one was a thing of beauty. One deep shot with those
deep
two.
shot, yeah.
It was awesome.
So, you know, if Jamar is going to take what DK said and use it against Witherspoon. Witherspoon's like, I didn't say anything. I was keeping my mouth closed.
Don't poke great players, okay? Just ask the Braves. Don't poke great players.
Exactly.
Anyway, yeah. So I'm looking at that. I'm like, DK, I love Witherspoon too. Don't do that. Don't do that to the kid, man.
No.
You know,
you get that kid's feelings hurt.
Yeah. Daniel Jones not practicing. Derek, I don't know, man. There's no guarantees where this heads. If I'm the Giants, am I really messing with this guy with the neck?
Nope.
Like if we're up to today and he's still not practicing and he's telling you it hurts worse than it did earlier in the week, I'm shutting it down, man. It's not something you want to be messing with.
He's dealt with a neck injury before. You paid this dude a lot of money. Do you really want to put him on IR the rest of the season if you put him out there behind that offensive line? Really? Yeah. I mean, this dude's taking a beating every week. I let Tyrod Taylor scramble around back there and take the brunt of the blows, because Tyrod is at least a little bit more elusive than Daniel is, and he can avoid some of those direct hits. Doesn't mean the Giants' offense is going to be any better, but Daniel, take your time. Take your time. Come back when you come back. And plus, am I putting Daniel Jones out there against Buffalo's defense?
Yeah, right. That's the and an angry Buffalo defense coming off a loss last week.
No.
Yeah, I know.
No, thank you.
I'm glad you brought that up. So let's stay with that for a minute, because Josh Allen was again sort of defending Stephon Diggs, because there's another shot, of him on the sideline. And you threw the tablet down. He was ticked off. Now, Diggs felt like the team lacked a sense of urgency in their loss last week. And Allen's point was just basically, look, this guy's a competitor. He and I don't have any kind of issues. I'm tired of answering this same question, blah, blah, blah. At some point, we're not going to go as nuts over these guys having little tantrums on the sidelines. It's just kind of who they are, and you just have to accept it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what do you want? It is what it is.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Who knows? Saquon is at practice today for the Giants too. I just saw a video from Pat Leonard, who covers the team for the New York Daily News. So he is there.
And see, that's another thing, Rob. No Daniel Jones, no Saquon, probably again.
We're banged up at least, Saquon. Who knows?
You know. I mean, really. If I was a Giants fan and had a ticket for this game, I'd try to sell this ticket real quick and try to make some money off this game.
Yep.
Because
yep.
As much as I enjoy rooting for my team, that's too gut wrenching to watch. It really is. You know, why would I want to put myself through that misery? Now, if I'm watching from home, when I get sick of it, I can turn to something else. But if I'm in a stadium and I paid my money to park and I bought food, more times than not, you're going to stay there for the duration because you want to get your money's worth.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to have something to feel good about, to cheer about. And you love the ISO shots of fans when they sit there with their blank look on their faces. Not just Giants fans, but fans in general, when their team is just imploding. And it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What can you do in this situation?
Exactly. Exactly. All right, let's hop on over here to our NFC Power rankings.
Ooh.
Okay. Yesterday we did the NFL overall, our top 5. This is our top 5 strictly in the NFC. Why don't you go? You go first crack. Let's see if we're on the same page. Yesterday we were 5 for 5, literally every single one the same. And after you go, if we're the same or whatever, or we're pretty close, I will literally hold up my sheet of paper.
Okay.
And show you where I'm at to see how close we are. Okay. All right.
Okay. Go from 5 to 1.
5 to 1.
All right. Number 5 is Dallas. Dallas got embarrassed, but Dallas does have a lot of talent, and I do believe at some point they're going to get it right. So I put Dallas at number 5. Number 4, I put in Seattle. I think what they're doing out in Seattle is phenomenal. You know, the fact that Pete Carroll is not considered more for Coach of the Year is ridiculous for what he did for that team last year. What they're doing this year, the way they've drafted over the last couple of years, they brought Bobby Wagner back home, and Seattle's playing great football. This was tough. I put Detroit right ahead of Seattle because I think Detroit's offense is a little bit more creative.
Yeah.
In terms of how they strike. Seattle lines up and they just beat you. You know, they'll find a way to beat you with their weapons. They are very meticulous in what they do. But Detroit, you know, they flea flickers and all this stuff. You know, they have all kind of gadget stuff going on. Detroit's defense is playing well. Seattle's defense is playing well. It was a tough call, but I put Detroit at number 3. Now, obviously, the Eagles are number 2 right now, even though they're undefeated. Eagles are number 2. I think the difference between the Eagles number 2 and the team that's number 1, who you already know, is overall play. And I think the team that's number 1, San Francisco, overall has played a much better brand of football across the board, a much stouter brand of football. And I said it, and people agree that right now, San Francisco is on paper and the way they've played through 5 games. San Francisco is the most complete team in the NFL right now.
Okay.
In all phases of the game.
We were close.
Oh.
Not exactly on the same page, Derek.
Oh.
Okay. So at number 5 is where I have Seattle.
Okay.
I have Seattle at 5. And I know they only have 1 loss. I maybe it's, I don't know. I have the Cowboys at 4. Now, yeah, and considering some of the injuries, you can make a strong case that they should have been 5 where you had them, but I have them at 4 still. I have a little bit more belief, I guess, than some do. But so I just, and those could easily be flip-flopped. 3, I agree with you. Detroit's 3, without a doubt. Their offense is really good. They're playing better defense. They do create turnovers. They have a good defensive line. 2 is the Eagles. I mean, look, they're undefeated. There's no question about it, but simply because through 5, they haven't played their A game, where I feel like if I was grading San Francisco, I would give them an A, probably an A+ through 5. The Eagles, I'd probably go like A-, B+, simply because they are undefeated, but we know they haven't played as well as they can play. So I would go 49ers, Eagles, Lions, Cowboys, Seattle. That's Seahawks. That's how I would go.
Oh, so we got 3 out of 5.
It's close. Our top 3 are the same. Yeah. The only difference is the last one. That's the only, or the last two. Sorry. But that's it. So, I mean, look, I would say this too. After you go 49ers and Eagles, there's a space. There's a spacing in there. It's not It's definitely different, man. For sure. But yeah, listen, I hear you, Twiz. Twiz says, Rob, we hold the crown till we don't. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, the Eagles are ultimately the team to beat until somebody knocks them out of it. I agree with that. I'm just ranking through 5 the team that I think has played the best football. So that's all. That's all. All right, let's get a timeout. We come back. We will talk to head coach Billy Crocker of Eastern University. We'll see how his squad did this past week. Look forward to next week as well with the coach. We'll get the birthdays, movies, all kinds of good stuff in store for you when we come back. So don't go anywhere. That's Derek Gunn. I am Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take. We'll be right back.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We were big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
At Pond Lehocky, we've recovered billions of dollars for our clients, and we're confident we can do the same for you. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured clients obtain some of the largest settlements in Pennsylvania. One conversation is all it takes to help you and your family get back on track. If you've been injured in an accident, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Field of life, First Trust Bank is there for you.
Champions on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Because Philadelphia dreams deserve a Philadelphia bank.
Staffing is not easy, but that's what we do every day, all day. The key to our success is storytelling, asking the right questions to find the right people. Hi, I'm Gary Kane, president of Kane Partners. We want to be your staffing partner.
Since 1977, it's always been about you, the community, at Rafferty Subaru. And through the Subaru Love Promise, we prove we care by supporting charities like So Good Now.
So Good Now helps kids in under-resourced areas by connecting them with student athletes to serve as mentors. We remove barriers so athletes can help youth in the corners of our communities where light and love are needed most.
When you choose Rafferty Subaru, you help organizations like So Good Now.
It's all about you at Rafferty Subaru.
Do you stream on a Roku, Fire Stick, Google TV, or Apple TV? Now you can watch 6ABC 24/7 with the 6ABC Philadelphia streaming app.
For the big story on Action News,
search 6ABC Philadelphia and start streaming today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
We're back. Final segment of the show. That's Derek Gunn. I'm Rob Ellis. We're Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Appreciate you hanging out with us on this Thursday. All right, joining us right now, as he does each and every Thursday, is the head football coach at Eastern University. That would be the one and only Billy Crocker. Billy, welcome to the show. How you doing?
What's up, guys? How are you? How you doing today?
I'm hanging in.
We're doing good. We're doing good. We know it's not easy, man, coming on after losses. We get, believe, like Derek and I were talking about it in our pre-show meeting, and we appreciate you are a you stand up, man. You're a very positive guy, man. No, honestly, it can't be easy, coming off a loss for sure.
Yeah. No, it's listen, it's hard with the team, and we can. And I told the guys, and it's something I try to. Maybe I'm just talking to myself more than them sometimes, but we're just in such a unique situation this year. We're different. It's not your typical, hey, we're struggling or whatever, because in a lot of things we do, we're not struggling. And it's just that the nature of what we are. We're a first-year program, and I said no one said this was going to be easy. No one said we were going to see immediate results. I thought, I think maybe because we did some really good things early in the season that it kind of gave you a little momentum or a little hope, like, okay, maybe we are going to roll this pretty fast. And then you hit reality a little bit at times, and it's like, okay, let's really look at where we are and what this situation is.
Coach, in a situation like this, obviously the coaching staff has to be in sync 24/7.
Yep.
If you can reveal to us, what is the constant chatter between you and your coaching staff in terms of continuing to build young men into a unit, to learning to rely on young men through thick and thin, come hell or high water?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No, and like I said a few weeks ago on the show was, again, I don't think anyone involved with us, whether it's coaches, whether it's players, are trying to mess up or do something wrong.
Right,
so I think we need to, really pick our battles in terms of, jumping on a kid or something like that. We're teachers, and we're teaching, and we're building, literally building, and I think that's the biggest thing is we got to try to, that line of being as positive and reinforcing those things as we can versus also, hey, the accountability of, hey, we got to at some point kind of try to get what we're looking for at the same time, know? So, and it's unique because I do, especially last year, into this year, is not just coaching the players, but coaching the coaches to an extent. I have, a lot of my coaches are super young.
Oh, wow. Okay.
The majority of my career, I've always been one of the younger guys on staff, and all of a sudden, I'm the elder statesman. I might be the only one who's married, or the only one, and certainly the only one with kids. So I got a lot of young coaches as well who are very impressionable, and coaching them before we get to coach the players is also something that we I have to focus on.
Last week, it was kind of weird, right? You were dealing with some weather conditions again. Yes. You've had some bad luck with Mother Nature. We get it. Trust me. But there's nothing you can't control that, obviously.
Correct.
But two safeties pretty early is a bizarre thing in a football game.
I think that in the first quarter it was 4-0, and I'm like, what inning are we in?
What's happening?
What's going on here? I got to find my reliever. No, that was certainly unique, and I don't think I've ever been a part of that, to be honest with you. And it was hard. It was a hard hole to get out of because we make a stop on defense to start the game, and what led to is we had a punt returner who we lost over 50 yards on 2 punts that we didn't feel.
Oh man!
Which the first one put us on the -1 yard line. And, one play safety. And then all of a sudden you're kicking from the 20. Right. And they were starting, I think of their like 14 possessions, I want to say like 8 or 9 of them were inside the 40-yard line.
Oh.
So defensively was a little bit of a battle, to maintain. And they did a really good job doing that. We went to halftime, it was 12-0. I'm like, guys,
your defense doing
we're good. Job. Guys, we're good. Like it's 12-0. We get the ball coming out.
Yeah.
Let's go. And sure enough, we fumbled. But it was, but again, it was it was heavier rain this week than it was 2 weeks ago. And again, we're not built to say, hey, we're just going to run the ball against you. And it's just not who we are, right now, physically.
Coach, I want to go back to the coaching aspect that you were talking about a moment ago. I find it interesting that as the head coach that you are a father figure, not just to players, but also to a coaching staff. Most of the times when you're a head coach, you have multitude of equals, same age, same experience.
Yep.
So what is that added responsibility like? Because you're coaching up coaches as well.
Yeah, no, and honestly, I had someone to really great to learn from. Like Coach Talley for me was sort of that figure as well. He was my head coach. He was a father figure to me. He was a friend and still is to this day. So I kind of learned from him a little bit. But what I need to remind myself constantly is not only are the players looking at me for key, but these coaches are as well. You know what I mean? And and sometimes as young coach, and trust me, I way too. You kind of fly off the handle. You're super energetic as a young coach, and that's what you want to, how you want to be perceived. Is to have a good amount of energy, but they got to learn how to always channel that energy in the right direction. If I get too high or too low, they're going to follow suit, and the players will as well. So even if it's in the meeting room, in the staff room before we start the day, or even on Sundays when we come in after a loss, it's, I got to walk in there and not jump them the same way you wouldn't do to the players. You know what I mean? And trust me, listen, I've been in some really, really tough staff rooms, and I always told myself, nope, I don't want to do it that way. I just don't think anyone benefits from that.
That makes sense. Well, look, you're always looking to glean positives, right?
Yeah.
And you had a big connection on a touchdown pass from your quarterback, who seems to have had a nice year for you, Sabor Stevens. He hits Eddie Swinton on a 65-yarder. Well, let's talk about that. How you feel your quarterback's progressed as the season's going on.
Yeah, good. Up and again, he's a freshman, and I think when you're coming from high school, he went to Northeast High School in Philadelphia, and just kind of some of those, there wasn't sort of an offensive structure where it was, reading things or, making decisions pre-snap and post-snap. More of it was, hey, this is what we're running and just go, and he does that stuff really, really well. And again, we just have been in the last really 2 to 3 weeks in situations game-wise where I don't know if he can really let his strengths show as much as they are there. You know what I mean? And it just hasn't been. And honestly, this weekend looks the same. Saturday's supposed to be another washout.
Yeah, so you're at Franklin Field Saturday night, correct?
Coach, I don't want to rain on your parade, but I was going to mention the weather forecast in this region Saturday, high of 57 degrees, 70% chance of rain.
Can't catch a break here, man.
I'm well aware. Trust me. We were looking at options of, hey, can we play this game on Friday? Can we, move it to Sunday? We're looking for something.
Oh my goodness.
But listen, it is what it is. Like, you can't control it. You got to go out and play. And like I tell the guys too, is, hey, listen, they have to go out and play in it as well.
Yeah.
So let's try to handle those as much as we can. But again, I think Sabor is growing, with the position, and he certainly has, I think, some talent around him on the perimeter, with the consistency. It's been a tough evaluation for him and of him because of what the last 2 games have presented weather-wise.
Yeah, it makes sense. Makes sense. Give me one other positive you gleaned from the game. I know it's tough when you lose, but what else stood out?
Again, I just think these guys, they were into it. It was cold and rainy up there the entire. It rained hard in the second half than it did in the first half. And our sideline and our kids, they were in it. Like we scored that touchdown. We had a little trick thing where we went for 2 points, a little muddle huddle, a la Chip Kelly used to do when he was at New Hampshire every time they scored. So we got it. It was great. Threw it to our short snapper for a 2-point conversion. And it's 18-8, almost going into the fourth quarter. I'm like, guys, we're here. Like, we're 2 scores down and we can go do this thing. And those guys on the sideline were great. And those kids, they just continue to compete for 4 quarters. You know what I mean? And that's what it's been. And I think once you can do that consistently, regardless of what it says on the scoreboard, things are going to be fine.
Yeah. Coach, you've been around the coaching game a long time. But we as we know, when we self-evaluate, we never stop learning.
Yeah.
How much have you learned about yourself in this role that maybe you didn't anticipate going into this when you took this job?
No, I just think, again, sort of a ton. Like, I always believe you learn more from kind of getting punched in the face than you do anything else. You know what I mean? And honestly, I think it started for me. I was very spoiled when I was at Villanova for those, 15-ish years. You know what I mean? we were really good most of the years. We had good kids, we had good players, and all the coaches stayed there for a long time. So it was almost like it wasn't reality. Then I had a chance to go up to Connecticut, up at UConn, and that was a different ball game. The program was not in good shape, and it was hard. And you know what I mean? But I learned so much of myself and what that was in those 2 years there because it was so hard. And then a whole nother ballpark of all the different things that, goes into this, you know what I mean? Outside of the field, off the field rather. From an organization, I joke around all the time that I'm going to absolutely have a doctorate in counseling when this thing is said and done with all the, the things and, the young people that you deal with on a daily basis and the problems that they have off the field that you're helping them with. And honestly, that's what the job is, you know what I mean? Especially at the college level, so I've learned a ton, and I think I've calmed myself down a little bit just to, really step back and look at the big picture. And again, like I said, because there's so many people now looking at you and what to do, and how to react and what's next. And that's the biggest probably change for me that I've learned over the last, 10 or 12 months.
Makes sense. Coach, listen, people can catch the game, AM 990, and of course the JAKIB platforms and at Franklin Field. And tonight, let me give you Saturday night. Let me give you the schedule. What we have, left here, Albright coming up. That's Saturday. And then King's College on the road. Then you're back home for Fairleigh Dickinson, and then it's Widener and Stevenson to close out. Real quick, give us a little synopsis here on Albright. What you can expect?
Again, I think a team that's really doable for us. I think if we play the way I know we're capable of playing, I think we can really compete and have a good chance to come out with a win. But again, we got to continue to try to do the things that good football teams do, and don't get ourselves beat, which again, I think we've done the last couple weeks.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Coach, just Coach, to add to that real quick, you're facing an Albright team that's 0 for the season. They've scored a total of 19 points in 5 games. And you have a young, hungry team. How much do you preach? Don't you dare underestimate this team, because that's when you can get bit.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think we're in a position to overestimate anybody. I said, listen, we were picked to be last in the league, and so we're looking up at everybody. So we shouldn't be looking at anyone on our schedule saying, oh, hey, we got this one. I said, everyone had us circled, everybody, including this team. You know what I mean? So I don't think that's an issue. I think the guys just maybe from a realistic standpoint have hey, this is a better matchup for us than maybe it will be in 3 weeks or something.
Right.
So,
all right.
If that makes sense.
No, it does. It does.
Yeah,
Coach,
absolutely.
listen, we appreciate it as always, man.
Yes.
We're looking forward to talking to you again next week. And good luck this week.
Good luck to you, Coach.
I appreciate it, guys.
Stay dry.
Take it. Stay dry. Yeah, good luck.
Hey, I might go up and coach in the booth this week. I don't know.
We wouldn't fault you. Coach,
that's not leadership right there.
Hey, I can't make decisions when I'm this wet,
Exactly. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate you.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
All right, take care.
Got it. That is Coach Billy Crocker, Eastern University.
Man.
That's tough, man. Look, he knew what the undertaking was. He knew what he was getting himself into. It is an upstart. It is a startup, kind of thing. It's hard.
Absolutely.
It's hard.
It's tough enough to be in a situation, but when you're getting rained on every week, also it's like and now 70% chance of rain this Saturday,
and then like all the days leading up are nice, and then Saturday, I know, it's unbelievable.
Oh my goodness!
All right, so a couple things, not on a great front here, according to EJ Smith, he's not seeing Darius Slay at practice today for the second day in a row. You get to Thursday, it's starting to get a little, I'm just saying. So we'll see. We'll see what further comes down the pike there. But that's a little concerning there. There's no doubt.
Well, I should have a little bit more on Darius for you tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm still talking to people back and forth. So I'll give you an update sometime tomorrow.
Yep. Okay. All right. If we get anything else before we get off the air, we'll pass it along from Eagles practice too, from some of the beat guys who are down there. We didn't get a chance to get to this before we get to birthdays and movies and how we usually close out the show, Derek.
Yep.
It is remarkable that there's only one baseball series left. I mean,
that's something.
The Orioles get swept out, who had an incredible season, right? They just get their doors blown off. Houston last night takes care of business against the Minnesota Twins. The Diamondbacks sweep out the Dodgers last night and, just put them away. And this is it. Phillies are the lone team still standing. And, hopefully the Phillies can take care of business tonight. And then there's every series is over. Every NLDS is over. NL and ALDS is over.
When was the last time the playoffs played out like this, Rob? Everybody's getting swept out. Of course, Minnesota beat Houston one game, but then Houston goes on a tear. I can't remember the playoffs across the board ending this quickly.
I know.
Getting to the ALCS and the NLCS as well. If
the Phillies win, Derek, there aren't any baseball games Friday or Saturday. Nothing.
Well, in a way, though, that's good. We can focus on college football and pro football.
Yeah.
I know people are anxious, but let's just be able to just embrace the football scenario this weekend, please.
Let me give you one more thing that's good. So let's say the Phillies advance. They wouldn't play. They would have off Sunday, as I mentioned, so that there's no conflict with the Eagles. They would play Monday, Tuesday. I mean, again, scheduling working out very, very well for the sports fan. You get your Eagles Sunday, boom, Phillies Monday, Tuesday. So all good on that front. Man. But yeah, it's been pretty wild. We talked about that stat earlier. Of the 5 teams, the 5 best records in baseball, they've only won 1 game in the entirety of the postseason. That's it. That is crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
What's your sense tonight? What is your sense with Suarez going against Strider in a potential closeout?
I feel good. I feel good with Suarez on the mound, considering how he pitched that first game. We got a little trouble, but nothing major. Anytime Strider steps on the hill, it's always a problem. I'm hoping they can jump on him early and knock him out. If Strider's in there for 7 innings or 7+ innings, that's a problem. That's a major problem. I don't want to see this series go back to Atlanta. I think, I talked about how yesterday, if the Phillies lost game 2, there's a lot of pressure on them, but the pressure is squarely the pressure globe. The weight of the pressure globe is squarely on Atlanta, because this series is played out exactly the same way as last year. Split in Atlanta, Phillies come home game 3, 6-run third inning, get blown out, take care of business, leading up to potentially the deciding game. And for a team that has the offensive prowess of the Braves, they have not lived up to their end of the bargain in terms of making this an interesting series.
Yeah,
that's got to be weighing on their minds. Their big guns have not produced consistently like the Phillies have. Strider's on the hill. Phillies have beat him 2 times in 2 years in the playoffs. The mojo, as we call it, the mojo, Big Mo, is definitely in favor of the Phillies in this game tonight.
I'll tell you the thing I also like, Derek, but because the game was not competitive last night, you didn't have to use Alvarado, Kimbrel. Sir Anthony didn't get a ton of work. He did pitch, but it wasn't like super high stressful situations. Like, you're in pretty good shape. Kimbrel, Alvarado, Hoffman are all available and weren't even used last night. So, I agree, but we had Ben Davis on a little bit earlier. If you missed any of that, you can check it out at JAKIBsports.com or JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. But I agree with Ben in this sense. I don't think this is going to be the same quick hook for Ranger Suarez tonight. Like, let me put it to you this way. Derek, if he's in the 4th inning and hasn't given up a run, or has given up like a run and looks really good, he's going to keep rolling with him. And why not?
You know what, Rob? I don't know. Yeah. Because of the strategy behind it. Let's say he's in the 4th inning.
Yeah.
Let's say it's a 0-0 game or a 1-1 game. Suarez comes out after dominating the first 3 innings. All of a sudden, Atlanta has men at the corners with 1 out.
Yeah.
I think Rob Thompson gets itchy and may pull the hook on him again.
Oh.
But I think Suarez will have a better understanding this time of why this strategic move is made, compared to basically looking like he was blindsided in that first game.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's definitely something to keep your eye on. That is for sure.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's do some birthdays and some movies. All right.
Where's my dang birthday list here? Okay. Here we go.
All right. Here we go. Hugh Jackman, actor, is 55 years old.
One of my favorites all time.
He's great. I mean, I love guys who have range, and he's a range guy to me. Like, he can do Wolverine, but he can do other stuff. He's also a very talented singer and like, he's a real showman. You know what I mean?
Speaking of showman, I think one of his finest roles was in that movie, The Greatest Showman.
I do too.
The movie about him being the circus ringleader.
Yes.
And the musical scores, and he can actually sing.
Yeah, he
can
a
sing as
triple
well.
threat type. Like he's that guy. Yeah.
I love that movie. If I see it on, I'll still watch that movie. Grace, with Zendaya in the movie and all that.
Yes.
And Zach Efron.
He's very good at it. Yeah. Yeah.
I
agree with you. I think it's an excellent movie.
Yeah.
I'm there with you. Josh Hutcherson, who was you've seen him in the Hunger Games and a bunch of other stuff. 31 years old. Good actor. Certainly has gotten a fair. He started acting when he was a kid. I saw him in a movie RV with Robin Williams, which he was very funny in and years ago. My kids used to love that movie. Luciano Pavarotti, one of the great voices of our time, Derek.
One of the greatest opera tenors ever.
And he's a GOAT. Like he's a Mount Rushmore opera tenor, right?
Yes.
Born on this day, 1935. Now, fitting, Derek, fitting. Callum Scott, who sings the song Dancing on My Own, which has become the Phillies theme song.
Yes.
Today's his 35th birthday.
Wow.
Close it out on Callum Scott's birthday.
Wow.
There we go.
Wow.
Huh?
It's a sign, Rob. It's a sign.
It's destined. This guy's a really good Japanese actor. I'm going to butcher the name. Here we go. He's 63. Hiroki Sanada.
Close enough.
All right. He's 63. He's been in a lot of different things. You'd recognize him if you saw him. Melvin Franklin, the great singer. Lost him pretty young, too.
Yes, one of the Temptations.
Phenomenal. What a
he was a bass singer. Yep.
He had that deep voice, man. But anyway, Ryan Clark, ESPN analyst, longtime NFL player, played his college ball at LSU. He is 44 today, is Ryan Clark.
Not bad for an undrafted free agent coming out of LSU.
I'll tell you, he had his best years, in my opinion, were in Pittsburgh, but he had good years with Washington, Pittsburgh, and and had a nice career. And he has really parlayed that into an excellent career in front of the camera. Dick Gregory, who was a comedian and activist.
Yes.
Was a guy in the 50s and 60s and 70s even, who was very much at the forefront of a lot of movements. Actually had some cameos in Rocky 1 as well, did Dick Gregory. Philadelphia also. Who else do you have birthdays? Wasn't a ton today.
Adam Rich, the kid who played Nicholas Bradford in the comedy 8 is Enough for 5 seasons. He was born on this day in 1965. Unfortunately, he passed away this year at the age of 54.
Yeah, it's a real shame.
The actress Susan Anton from Cannonball Run 2 was born on this day. Dick Stockton, Philly's own Dick Stockton, legendary broadcasting voice, is still with us. Thank you, God. 81 today.
Yep.
Tony Kubek, 4-time All-Star, 3-time World Series champion, and he was a 1957 American League Rookie of the Year and a great broadcaster as well. He's still with us. He's 88, by the way. He's from the great city of
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
There you go, baby.
Boom.
Now, this one is how much time we got? Okay, I can get a little involved.
We can do it. We're all right.
Leon Lett.
Oh,
is 55 today. Leon Lett had 2 of the more infamous plays in the history of pro football. As a matter of fact, 2 of his gaffes have been consistently voted as 2 of the top 5 gaffes that ever occurred in the history of pro football.
Yep.
One occurred in Super Bowl 27 against Buffalo.
Yep.
He scoops up a ball, takes off running for the end zone, gets to the 10-yard line, holds it up, and Buffalo Bills wide receiver.
Was it Tasker or Don Beebe?
Don Beebe.
Don Beebe.
Don Beebe comes up behind him, slaps the ball out.
Yes.
His hand rolls through the end zone, touchback. He's left with egg on his face. But, of course, at that time, Dallas was winning 51-17.
It didn't matter. Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't matter. Yeah.
The other one occurred on Thanksgiving Day. Now, wait a minute. That happened. The weird thing is 2 happened in the same year, 2 different seasons, but the same year. Now, the Super Bowl gaffe, January of 1993.
Yeah.
Following season, 1993, Thanksgiving Day. All right?
In the snow, which you don't see in Dallas.
No.
Yes.
The 7-3 Cowboys are playing the 8-2 Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
Pete Stoyanovich lines up for a 41-yard field goal.
Yes.
In the snow.
Yes.
41-yard field goal. Cowboys blocked the ball. Okay?
Yeah.
15 seconds left in the game. Cowboys blocked the ball.
Oh, my God.
And the Cowboys are celebrating.
Yep.
You don't have to touch the ball. They automatically get the ball at the game.
Just leave it alone. Get away from it. Yep.
Leon sees a live grenade, decides to try to pick up the ball. He slips, and the ball goes rolling down the field towards the end zone. Miami recovers it matter of fact, Miami recovered it in the end zone.
Yeah.
But because of the muff rule, they got it at the 1 yard line. They get a game-winning field goal. Stoyanovich kicks it. Miami wins the game 16-14. Leon Lett.
Unbelievable. All right, good one. I'm glad you brought that one up. That's good. Good work out of you. All right.
Let's see. The next one will be.
We got to be quick now. We're in hyperdrive.
DiMonaco, a great creator. He created the Purge franchise. Ketel Marte, second baseman for Arizona, is good 30 player today. Yep. Former quarterback Chris Chandler, 58. Chris Wallace, journalist, 76.
Yep.
And Kirk Cameron, who was on Growing Pains, 53. That's all I'll do.
All right, quickly movies. Argo, 2012. Really good movie. Sideways, 2004. We Own the Night, 2007. Beautiful Boy, 2018. Why Did I Get Married, 2007. You got anything else?
No, I think a lot of men have said that in their lifetime. Why did I get married?
You said it.
I wasn't one of them. I'm not one of them.
Trish.
No, I'm not one of them.
All right.
Nope.
All right. I'll try to help you. All right, let's we got to wrap it. Unfortunately, I wish we had more time, but we want to thank Tone DeShields. Tone, excellent job producing. Thank you, Tone. Thanks everybody in the chat. Appreciate you streaming, everybody listening as well. We'll be back at it tomorrow. We will recap game 4, Phillies, and go full blown into the Eagles and the Jets, and also preview the best games of the week, Derek, and top 5 AFC power rankings tomorrow. So we got a lot in store. Go Phillies. Enjoy the game, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Stay tuned for the National Football Show with Dan Cilio. Take care.